and start throwing rocks at each other again. And that's going to be a test for this country to wait and see what happens.
Hello, good people. Wow, who expected this?
Shot.
Yeah, just maybe.
Yep.
In good spirits. That is what folks are being told, and that his son, who has spoken with him directly, says. And you see the former president able to, obviously, in these videos, this images we've been showing, able to move, able to pump his fist. But you see the blood that he's talking about there on his right ear as the former president is describing what happened. Important to note here, he is also, of course, extending condolences to the person who was hurt, the person who was believed to be killed there, and thanking law enforcement for their incredibly fast response. And you saw the response, Lester, in one of these remarkable moments as it unfolded. In some quarters, in some places online, there was a live stream of this happening. Obviously, the cameras of every network in the country were on this, given that he is the presumptive Republican nominee, of course, before this happened. And you see the absolute chaos there in Butler that we've been describing from Dasha, from Jillian, from Jake and Bianca and our teams there as the rest of it unfolded there. So again, Lester, the first statement that we are getting from the former president himself, posted as Donald Trump is wont to do, posted on an online platform there on Truth Social as he's looking to get the message out immediately, as quickly as he can, it appears, to the American people that he appears to be okay, that he's extending his condolences, and specifically what happened, as he says, that bullet hit his ear, Lester.
Yeah, incredible to look at how close that was to hitting a vital area of him. That first description from the former president himself. Hallie Jackson, thanks very much. Our senior White House correspondent Kelly O'Donnell joins us. Kelly, you have a new statement from President Biden.
Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to go to Garrett Hake right now. Garrett?
Lester, in reading that statement from Donald Trump, confirming that, in fact, he was shot in this incident in Butler tonight, I think about the times that I've discussed his safety with members of his campaign over the last year or so, and there has always been tension and awareness in the minds of Donald Trump's campaign staff, even at senior levels, of the risk that he takes every time he goes out. Campaign officials will tell you that he gets an enormous amount of threats, frankly, as many politicians do across the political spectrum, and that the campaign has worked across this very long period of time since he first announced more than a year ago that he would be running for president, to balance, in some cases, his desire to hold these kind of mega rallies, these huge outdoor events, with his personal safety. They are very cautious about using what is known in the industry as OTR stops, the idea of him appearing at short notice in certain locations where folks cannot necessarily be screened in the same manner that they are by the Secret Service at events like this. And, you know, any presidential campaign thinks about the candidate's safety. It's a major part of the job. You work with the Secret Service for that reason. But this has been front and center in the minds of campaign staffers going back really since before the launch of this campaign. Obviously, an unusual campaign in the sense that here is someone who has never not had Secret Service protection from the moment he was first sworn in 2017 through this moment. And I think looking ahead now, and this is something that we're trying to report out, is what, if anything, is going to change about the Republican convention next week? Obviously, the former president was set to arrive there on Monday morning. He was expected to be in Milwaukee across those 4 days. These conventions, as many of our viewers know, are very much high security situations, downtowns, locked down days in advance, very difficult to go in or out. about what will change in the security and what will change in the messaging of this convention. We've already seen some of Donald Trump's allies, perhaps most notably his son, Eric Trump, making use of that image on your screen right now, the fist pump from Donald Trump in the moments after we now know that he was shot, to say that this is the fighter America needs, in the words of Eric Trump and in the words of many of his allies, who I think, setting aside the moment that we're in right now, and especially knowing from the former president's own lips now, or his own fingertips, I suppose, that he's going to be okay. This image of him as a fighter is so central to his political identity, so central to his campaign's strategy, and something that I'm sure will be incorporated into whatever we see of the convention next week. What changes might be taking place right now, Lester, very difficult to say. The campaign is on a complete lockdown, not talking to the press, really working through first what's going on with their candidate and what their next steps will be tomorrow and in the days ahead.
The obvious being
All right,
Kennedy
we're looking at a
Lincoln.
motorcade leaving a nearby hospital that has been under heavy security here since all this happened. We have not received confirmation that former President Trump has been treated there, but we did just see look like a small motorcade leaving the area. So we'll continue to monitor that picture. Garrett, why have you here? Let's talk about what is likely on the minds of a lot of people. I mean, certainly we're looking at a case where there has been a loss of life. Another spectator has been seriously injured. But this comes as the country and Democrats are still wrestling with the issues over the President Biden's performance in the debate. And now this, I guess it'll take some days to play out as to whether we're looking at another reset and changing how people view this campaign.
I think that's right, Lester, and I think it would be a mistake to speculate on exactly what will go forward now. I can only say where it has come to now, and the campaigns that I've covered in the past, the level of intense focus and scrutiny on this presidential election here in early July is very unusual, especially for an election, I think, that a lot of people had kind of tuned out of. Essentially a battle of two incumbents, two people hugely unpopular outside of their own political bases. There was the questions about whether Joe Biden would continue in this race after that debate performance, a historically early debate, and now an intense focus on Donald Trump, on political violence. We know nothing yet about the shooter or his or her motivations. We know nothing yet about exactly why this event took place. But we know the political climate that we're in has been incredibly heated, going back for years. I cover Congress in my other role at this network, and the threat level in Congress has been a huge boost over the last several years by several factors over, more threats against members. So the political environment has changed in that sense, and the heat is turned up to a level that we're just not used to seeing in the summer, which is often the doldrums of a presidential campaign. The view stakes speculation is typically the kind of thing that folks in my business are talking about right now. News only for the most dialed in of the political viewers out there. Now all of a sudden we're talking about what appears to be what is being investigated as, according to our reporting, as an attempt on the life of a nominee or soon-to-be nominee of the presidency of the United States. The phrase that we are in uncharted waters is completely worn out, Lester, but here we find it once again perhaps the most appropriate way to view our political dynamic.
It certainly says it in so many ways. Thank you, Garrett. Let's bring in our senior Washington correspondent, Hallie Jackson. You have received a statement from the Secret Service. What are they saying right now?
Yeah, a new statement now, putting on the record officially, Lester, what our team has been able to report out from their sources over the course of the last 2 hours or so. I will read it in full here because it's important to note what the Secret Service is saying, that during a rally in Butler tonight at around 6:15 p.m., they say a suspected shooter fired multiple
who was killed, and also to the family of another person that was badly injured. It is incredible that such an act can take place in our country. Nothing is known at this time about the shooter, who is now dead. He said, I was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper
so we
part
got
of my
a whole
right
bunch of
ear.
us
I
split
knew
on the
immediately that
false
something was
flag
wrong
versus
in that
real,
I heard a
but
whizzing
ineffective
sound,
attempt.
shots, and immediately felt the
I'm just
bullet
not gonna
ripping through the
speculate
skin.
either way.
Much
I
bleeding
wanna
took place, so
find
I
out
realized
more
then what was happening.
about
God
the
bless
shooter, for
America.
one thing, if
According
there's
to the
anything to be
Secret
known
Service
about him
tonight, quote,
that shows
during former
anything.
President Trump's campaign rally in Butler,
Any motive?
Pennsylvania, on the evening of July 13th at approximately 6:15 p.m., a suspected shooter fired multiple shots towards the stage from an elevated position outside of the rally venue. U.S. Secret Service personnel neutralized the shooter, who is now deceased. U.S. Secret Service quickly responded with protective measures, and former President Trump is safe. One spectator was killed. 2 spectators were critically injured. This incident is currently under investigation. The Secret Service has notified the FBI. And in case you missed it, here's what went down just a few hours ago with sound. Take a listen. Take a look.
Take a look at what happened.
Yeah. Well, we just wanna listen in on them, be a fly on their icky walls, shitty icky walls. Okay, understood.
Moving his hair. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Move. Go.
Hawkeye's here.
Okay. Don't get the message.
We ready?
Just mute it for now.
Are we good? Shooter's down. Are we good to move?
Sending me to the funny face.
Let's move.
We're clear.
Come on.
Let me get my shoes.
Got you, sir. I got you, sir.
Let me get my shoes, sir.
Hold that in your head. It's bloody.
So we gotta move to the bus. Let me get my shoes.
Okay, my shoes down.
Watch out.
Wait.
So where's that hydraulic lift that was hit? It seems fairly stable to me. No doubt the Secret Service were bored to tears by yet another rendition of a rally by the mango.
All right, we have full, complete news coverage all throughout the evening tonight. Joining us now with the very latest, live from Pennsylvania, Alexis McAdams. Alexis, what's the latest on the ground?
Hi, Sean. Well, being there in that media area, in the press area, watching the former president speak, he was just getting into immigration. The excitement was building. People were clapping and cheering, yelling, "Make America Great Again." And then you heard a series of loud pops. People really didn't even have time to react. Some people did hit the ground. Then we saw the Secret Service rush in. We're talking about the federal, the state, and local agencies doing everything they could as the former president then went down, Sean, right behind that podium. Coming back up a short time later after somebody yelled, "The shooter is down," with law enforcement, and on his ear you saw some blood. So that happened so quickly, and people came out here to support the former president. They were excited to see him, and then they left with this horrible tragedy.
Also, a spectator who was attending the rally has been killed, 2 others injured. President Biden has been addressing has talked to the nation. He addressed the nation just a short time ago.
Non-stop.
I have tried to get a hold of Donald. He's with his doctors.
Rest of the summer.
Apparently he's doing well. I plan on talking to him shortly, I hope, when I get back to the telephone. Look, there's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this.
And the president saying he plans to call former President Trump. President Trump, we should note, has issued a statement extending his condolences to the loved ones of the rally goer who was killed and another who was injured. He also thanked law enforcement and first responders for their quick action. His campaign says he is fine and is being checked out at a local medical facility. His son, Don Jr., weighing in, saying his dad is in great spirits. Let's go right to Richard Goldinger, the Butler County, Pennsylvania DA, who joins me on the phone. Sir, thank you for talking to us. First of all, were you at the rally this evening?
Lester, no, I was not present at the rally today. No.
All right. Can you tell us what at least the early part of the investigation has shown in terms of what we know potentially about the shooter and his motive?
Well, I don't know anything about a motive. I can tell you basically what you've already stated. We have, a spectator dead, unfortunately. We have a second spectator injured and seriously. And the shooter obviously is dead also. So, yeah, that's where we are at this point. The Secret Service, as we see, moved in quickly but methodically as they work to protect the former president. What interaction occurs before a rally like this between local officials such as yourself and the Secret Service? Well, I can tell you that for the last week or so, when this was first announced, that they have been talking to the Pennsylvania State Police, our local municipal officers. We have a CERT team that was activated for this event, and there was a lot of coordination to provide safety for not only the former president, but everybody that attended this event. So there was a lot of preparation put into this, obviously in a short period of time. Of YouTube. But these people are professionals, so they know what they're doing, and they they put the proper steps into place to
very soon.
Provide safety to everybody.
I'm trying
that was going to be there.
Mr. Goldinger, do you know, is this venue, is it a kind of a portable setup, or is it a setup that's there permanently?
Commentary. We need to be listening.
No, it's a permanent setup. It's sort of like,
I got a few things to say, people, but I'll be on in a second.
Farm show, but it's sort of like a fair. So it's a large, wide open area. There's actually an airport there also, a small airport. So, yeah, it wasn't anything that they had to come in and set things up as far as, we're going to have this event here. They had to set the bleachers up and everything like that. But,
yeah, and then I'm curious, are you familiar, we're now getting the reporting that the shooter fired from an elevated position. Can you, in your mind, picture what that position might have been? Is there a nearby hill?
I absolutely can. Yes, I can. And right. So that would have been several hundred yards away, in my mind, from where President Trump would have been speaking. And again, off-site. So,
was it a hill or just a elevated area?
No, it's all fairly flat from what I can think. But obviously, if you get on a roof, you're elevated. So, and the showgrounds where they were at is all fairly flat.
Okay. All right, Mr. Goldinger, thank you so much for coming on and speaking with us. We continue to watch these pictures again. We've played them, we know, over and over again, but I feel like you see something different. One of the things in my previous reporting with the Secret Service, you see that woman appears to be around the president. One of the things they are trained to do is to take...
I want to hear what they have to say, too.
Do not know if he was in it. CNN's Betsy Klein is on the scene for us over there. What are you learning, Betsy?
Really make them sign an NDA.
Well, if we are outside Butler Memorial Hospital, that's about 7 miles away from the site where this rally was, where former President Donald Trump was shot. And about 10 minutes ago, 8:54 p.m., there had been road closures here, and there was significant motorcade activity. We saw about 30 vehicles that included an ambulance, multiple motorcycles, multiple SUVs, law enforcement vehicles. We do not know if former President Trump was in that motorcade, but what we do know is that the significant police presence that has been on site for the last few hours outside of this hospital and the tactical teams, local law enforcement tactical teams, are now gone. And now, notably, this movement happened moments after Trump posted on Truth Social saying he was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of my right ear. He said he knew immediately that something was wrong. He heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through the skin. He said much bleeding took place, and then he realized what was happening. And when we saw with that video of the former president being shot as he was speaking, it was shocking. But what wasn't shocking is what Secret Service did in the immediate aftermath, immediately getting him to safety. The U.S. Secret Service trains and prepares for this exact type of scenario, and about 7 days in advance of any movement of a Secret Service protectee, whether that's a president or a former president, first lady, Secret Service teams get there in advance and they plan for this exact type of thing. They know exactly where the nearest trauma center is, where the nearest hospital, and know the exact motorcade route to that hospital. So they are prepared for this type of scenario, and this is what we believe to have seen playing out.
Just for a second. For the U.S. Secret Service, they do amazing work.
Just for a second. We're going to get right back to it. Just for a second, I need to tell you. Well. Number one,
thank you very much.
Trump says that it's a bullet that shot him through the ear. I've seen the injury. That is not a bullet. It's not a bullet. And everybody that's on TV that says, I'm from the Secret Service or we're FBI, the thing is, they have to be careful, and they should be. I do not. It's a BB. It's a ghost gun. It may be it may be shrapnel from something else that was hit. It is not. Bullets do not leave the ear. It doesn't matter if it was coming towards him or away from him. It would not leave the ear. We saw the blood and the ear. The top of it would be gone. That doesn't mean that it's not. It doesn't mean that it's not an attempt. Attempt on his life? No. An attempt to show him that he can be got? Yes. Yes, it could very well be simply an attempt to let him know we could have had you. The reason why you don't want to have him, if you're smart, is because the level of violence that you're going to see now from people retaliating is 100% different from the level of violence you would have seen if you killed their God. If you make a martyr and kill their God, the type of violence and unhinged, disassociated rage that would flow across this country would be unimaginable. Very few people have ever seen it. Very few people know what that looks like. Very few people are alive today that have lived through that type of anger due to martyrdom. I believe, this is just a belief, none of this is known for a fact, that they were letting him know, we could have got you. There's also been reports of different calibers. When they say different calibers, that means the reason why they know that is because of the different sound of the shots. Take, for instance, if you shoot a BB gun, it sounds different from a 22. If you shoot a 22, it sounds different from a 9. If you shoot a 9, it sounds different from a rifle. A M16 sounds different from a 50 gauge. So, when they say different calibers, it's because they heard that one was light and a few were bangs. Few were lighter and a few were bangs, bigger. What shot Trump was intentionally the lighter version, the ghost gun, the BB gun, many other different versions of it. I'm not a gun expert. I'm just someone who's been in the military and have shot many guns and know what bullets do. That's not it. It doesn't mean it wasn't an attempt on him. If anyone here thinks that it's funny or cool, I hear you. You're wrong. The level of violence that this ramps up, the amount of press that this gives him, what this takes away from what we were just talking about last night about an excellent press conference from Biden about great moves that he's making to win back the polls, which he has won back, will all be negated. It's not good. It's not good in any way. If he died, it would be even worse for the lives of your friends, yourself, for the lives of the people going to vote. Nothing about this is good. We can make jokes because it's not us, and I probably will end up doing so by time we get to the end of this. But I'm here to tell you why this happened, why it's not cool, and more importantly, what it means for the country and for you, the listener, the watcher. This will initiate an escalated level of violence, an escalated level of partisanship that will negate any good thing that has been gotten, that any good ground that has been made. This could be the catalyst to ensure a Trump victory. I need you to understand why this is a problem. This could be a catalyst to ensure a Trump victory. This isn't a false flag. This is an idiot. This is an idiot who decided to show Trump that he could get him. But he was smart enough to know that a martyr would be worse. And he was correct, or she was correct in that. These are my ideas. These are not fact. What is a fact is the people who do know guns, the people who have been in law enforcement, and people like myself who've been in the military will tell you there are different calibers. The shots that we hear sound different. An innocent person who found themselves unfortunate enough to have to listen through the bullshit that Donald Trump speaks for an hour is now dead, so they can't even go home and get it out of their head. That's not funny, but I said it. The shooter is now dead. I hate when that happens because that means we cannot ask them questions. We cannot interrogate them. We can't find out the truth, which means that rumors and rumors will now propagate because the shooter is dead. They don't even get to tell their own stupid manifesto. Okay? That's where we're starting today. Let's watch. I just wanted to get that in. I wanted everyone to think about what I said. We can all have fun now because guess what? I'm not going to come on here and say, oh, I'm going to pray for the family of Donald Trump. And fuck Donald Trump. I don't care about him. I don't. He's the worst thing that's ever happened to the country I fought for. No, I'm not here to say that. I am here to say this is detrimental to the cause of everyone who hates Donald Trump. This is serious. The turnout from this will be horrible. If he actually was got, if he actually passed away, I cannot... This is experience. This is experience from living in countries that have gone through here. This is experience from someone who's been in the military and understands what it means to go through missions and understand consequences of missions. If he was killed, you're not ready. None of you are ready for the level of violence that would sweep and surge across this nation from unhinged people in a nation full of guns that you can get free on the side of the road. You're not ready. You're not ready for that. Keep that in mind as we have fun tonight. I just wanted to come on and start there. You're not ready for that. I promise you, you've never watched the movies that will show you the truth of what that looks like. Kill someone's God He's a God. And you're not ready for what would happen as a recourse. We can only thank God that he didn't fall victim, that he didn't fall, that he didn't die. I've been saying that there will be violence in this country for months and saying, be prepared for it. This is what I meant. Are you prepared? Get prepared. Get right. Get voting. Get talking. Get serious. I thought the violence was going to come from the other side. I was wrong. The truth is, there's crazy people on both sides. We have much less of them, guaranteed. But the fallout from this will be serious and important. Eyes open. Be serious. That's all. That's all. No, you're not supposed to arm yourselves. You do have to be vigilant. I'm not sugarcoating it for you. You're not supposed to go and arm yourself. The worst thing, most people who have guns die from their own guns because they're not trained. I would never, ever, ever tell any of you who aren't trained in firearms to go get one. It's the worst thing you can do. What you can do is be vigilant. Stay watchful. When you're at the polling station, when you don't know what's going on, look around. Stay on the phone. Be with friends. Things are going to get crazy around election season. That's all I can tell you. I've been given the warning not because I want to be that guy. All right. So, now that I put that out there, I don't know anything else like you don't. Let's watch. Sorry about that, Laura. I didn't try to bring it down.
It's Joe Biden has, we're told the campaign has stopping TV ads for the time being. I mean, the convention, the Republican convention is supposed to begin on Monday. Unclear if this will impact that one way or the other. And I guess impossible at this point to know, where the campaigns go, does the tone and the tenor shift? Obviously, there's going to be, a lot of finger pointing, a lot of vitriol, and I'm not sure any sign that that will end.
No, I mean, there's so much at stake in this, in any election, and certainly in this election, and it's been a pretty bitter election to start with. And I don't know actually where it goes from here, Anderson. I mean, eventually the campaign will resume. But the fact that this happened on the doorstep of a convention has to change the nature of that convention in some way. And the fact that, I mean, I'm sure the president, assuming that he is up to attending, and I assume he will be greeted, as a kind of martyr of this event, and it will, and I think it could be angrier or it could be more somber, but it's certainly not going to be the same.
Senior political commentator David Axelrod, presidential historian Tim Neftali. Thank you. Wolf, back to you.
Anderson, I want to go to CNN's Randy Kay. She's just outside of Trump Tower in Manhattan in New York right now. What are you seeing there, Randy?
Well, Wolf, that attempt on the former president's life may have happened in Pennsylvania, but it is reverberating here in New York City. We are outside Trump Tower, where there is an increased police presence. Of course, there is always a police presence here at Trump Tower because the former president does come here from time to time.
Okay,
but
really
if you take
quick.
a look behind me here, there's about 8 to 10 police officers here, heavily armed police officers. We are told that this is out of an abundance of caution. There is a small crowd gathering here as well. Pretty peaceful, some supporters, others just coming here to see what
outside of Trump Tower. Anybody want to go to MSNBC real quick?
Mayor Eric Adams.
What do you think,
The
Laura?
mayor has been briefed on the situation, that he is praying for the safety.
We can do this. I have to tell you, at first glance, even with this location, I don't see anything different than the other rallies I've been to myself. So this is quite common. Now, Secret Service can say no, but you really have to have a good reason as to why you're going to say no and justify that.
Abby, thank you. You continue to provide us with rich information as we try to visualize all these things and understand and really interpret some of the video we've been seeing. We appreciate it. We'll ask you to stand by. I want to talk to Congressman Mike Kelly now. He was at that rally with his grandkids. Congressman, thank you for being with us. You guys okay?
Yes, Lester, thank you. We're fine.
How close were you to the former president, and what did you witness?
So it's about maybe 50 feet away from the podium where President Trump was speaking, and with some other congressional members and a member for the Senate. But and then behind him were the stanchions where people were sitting in the seats. So very close to it. A very strange day. You can imagine where I live in Butler, Pennsylvania. This is an agriculture town. This is an ag area, right? And we had it at the Butler Farm Show today, which is for years I've been coming here. And actually, we always participate in the 4-H sale here, where the children bring their animals in and sell them. They make pies and cakes, and they have all these contests. This is about as basic as you can get. This is about as basic America as you can find. And today, Lester, I got to tell you, it was a beautiful summer day. People celebrating, people happy, people grilling food and getting ready for President Trump to come in. And then the aftermath of it was just shaking. You just couldn't believe it. And I'm really concerned as we go forward. There's something wrong in America right now. Look, this doesn't make sense. I will tell you this, though, as President Trump and his right ear, the bullet went through his right ear. It's a fraction of an inch maybe away from killing him. As he was leaving and they were carrying him out, the Secret Service, he put his hand up in the air like, I'm okay. Unfortunately, the people behind me, about 10 rows up in the stands, there were people up there yelling and screaming, and they were talking. They had blood on their shirts and stuff, and there was a man who was down there. The security team rushed over there. They took him out of the stands, and apparently he has since passed away. But Lester, there's something wrong. There's something wrong in America today. This is we certainly today look like a third world country. Look, if you don't like whoever the candidate is, just don't vote for them. An attempted assassination on a presumption of the candidate. If we're going into our convention this week, former President Trump is going to come out as our candidate. What is wrong? What has happened in America? This is absolutely bizarre.
Do you think that we will hear a different tone for the rest of this campaign coming from frankly, both sides?
You know what? I would sure hope so. But do you know, and because I think you all covered this before, in 2017, our Republican baseball team was practicing for a spring baseball game as a charity event, and our leader now, Steve Scalise, was again a gunman attacked our guys while they were at practice and shooting up the place.
Yeah, I reported that.
I just don't understand this anymore. I really don't understand. The greatest nation in the world right now has succumbed to being a third world country. The level of hate, the level of discourse that takes place has got to stop. It has got to stop, and we've got to return to who we are. We are a great, great nation, and we say in all our prayers, under God, under God, under God. Well, I'm sure that right now, people of faith, tomorrow on Sunday morning, please go to wherever it is that you worship, drop to your knees tonight and pray for America. Pray for President Trump, that he's going to be okay. We also have, as I said, one man was shot. This guy is just there celebrating a day at a farm show grounds, and all of a sudden somebody takes into their hands. They have to start shooting up the crowd and shoot the president in the head. It's absolutely, it's off the charts. Third world country now. We have to start rallying around about who we are. When 1.5 million men in uniform and women in uniform have died to give us the right to practice the form of government we have, for us to be so casual and so callous about it? No. It's time for America to get back to being America.
And Congressman, you were there with your grandchildren. I didn't get the ages of were the young children?
Yeah. I mean, so we had children there anywhere from 4 years old up to 12 years old. Let's see, about 10 of them. My wife was there. My sister-in-law was there with her grandchildren. One of my sons was with me. And you have to wonder, as the children came back, they're just, Grandpa, why would somebody do that? Grandpa, why did somebody do that? They don't like President Trump. Just don't vote for him. And I've said to kids, I'll tell you what, that's why Grandpa is in Congress. We have got to go. We have got to get this country back on the beam. We cannot allow this to continue to unravel. Lester, I mean, really, we're like a third world country right now, right? I mean, this is absolutely off the charts, evil. It can't exist. We can't allow it to exist, and we can't tolerate it. We can't say, well, you know, that's going to happen from time to time. No, it's not. It cannot be allowed. 1.5 million men and women in uniform to give us the right to vote and do the things we do, for it to be this way now?
Obviously, a shocking and terrible evening as we hear the former president is okay, but as we've noted that one person was killed, 2 others have been badly injured in this. Congressman, thank you for taking a few minutes. We're glad you and the kids you're with are safe. I want to go to Garrett Hake now. He covers former President Trump. Garrett, Donald Trump has posted tonight on Truth Social. Talk through us what he wrote.
That's right, Lester. The former president using his preferred medium to inform the world of his status and the fact that he's okay. His message really in 3 parts. First, thanking law enforcement and the Secret Service for their swift action in Butler after the shooting. Second, offering his condolences for the person in the crowd, presumably a Trump supporter, who was killed and the other person seriously injured, about whom we don't have any additional update now. And then describing his experience with what he says was being shot through the skin of his right ear, saying that he knew immediately that it was a bullet. He felt the bullet ripping through skin. He says much bleeding took place, and he realized what had happened. He concludes, God bless America. We don't know yet, Lester, if this will be the only communication we get from the former president tonight. He is, of course, scheduled to go to Milwaukee and be seen there on Monday for the start of the Republican National Convention. But obviously, not just a personal crisis for him, a sort of crisis for the country with this moment of apparent political violence with an apparent assassination attempt, but also a crisis for his campaign that will now have to figure out what exact steps they'll need to take, both to make sure he remains safe today, tomorrow, and going forward, particularly with the convention where tens of thousands of people are expected to attend over the 4-day event. And what, if anything, they want to make of this moment politically. You know, the former president said in his Truth Social post that nothing is known yet about the shooter. He makes no comment about that. His supporters, though, are using images like the ones we're seeing on the screen, including now both of his sons, pinning those images to their X accounts, the website formerly known as Twitter.
It's not even funny what he's going to
pointing out the idea that their father, the Republican nominee in waiting, if you will, is a fighter and kind of seizing on this moment to elevate him politically. And so we have the physical update here from the former president. Again, he claims that he was shot through the upper part of his right ear. By all accounts, will be just fine. The political reverberations, of course, entirely unpredictable at this moment, but
if they're already selling $2
going on
bills
behind the scenes. The Trump campaign,
with his,
as we've reported earlier in the evening, putting their staffers on lockdown, telling people not to talk to the press, not to talk at all while they figure out the steps at a more senior level they want to take going forward. And Lester, I'll just add, as I mentioned earlier in our broadcast tonight, that concerns about the former president's safety on the campaign trail have always been on the front burner at the senior level of the Trump campaign. The mega rallies that he likes to hold, tens of thousands of people in open areas. Concerns about how to continue to conduct those safely in a kind of a hot political environment, an environment where he just might not be safe. There was much talk about those events, and even the smaller events where he likes to drop by at fast food restaurants or firehouses, the kind of unscheduled stops that presidential candidates like to make. At every single one of these stops that are discussed, there are serious high-level discussions about whether they can be conducted safely.
Not only are his fans going to be like,
yo, in the reporting to come, what kind of conversations were had about this rally,
he is
and how,
the best, the strongest. Look at how he jumped up with his hand after they shot him with a BB or a metal fleck or a piece of wood, whatever it was, which was not a bullet, I say again. Look at how he did that.
His campaign without that, but I guess that.
But they're going. He is actually going to think he's going to walk 2 inches taller tomorrow.
In Iowa and New Hampshire,
he's going to walk with a stride like John Wayne.
Pulling in so many people from
he's going to be like, you can't kill me.
and
I'm the Mad Titan. Like, it's over with.
So they made
Remember
tactical
when
decisions
he
along the way to shrink
survived
events for that
COVID when he
purpose.
walked out of the
Obviously, in a
hospital?
general
They
election,
had to
you're talking
prevent
about
him
70,
from
80 million
ripping his
voters
shirt open to
across the
expose
country,
the
but mostly
Superman
focused on
shirt.
battleground
Yes.
states. It doesn't.
He really wanted to do that.
Outside of reason that they
He
might
wanted to
find
expose the
smaller
Superman
events
shirt.
that look just as good on television.
Okay, listen, I don't know if you
might
guys
be
are
safer,
Marvel fans
easier,
like
certainly
me,
cheaper going forward.
but there was a point
but again,
when
I think these
Loki
are all conversations that are going to be
came
had
down to the
line
crowd,
with a president, as you know,
and all the people were crowded around him, and he had all his power, and he stood on a pedestal, and he said,
sort of his idea of projecting strength as a candidate.
All right,
what was the word?
thanks.
It
We'll
was
ask
so
you to stand
perfect.
by
He
as I
said,
bring in our senior Washington correspondent, Hallie Jackson.
assume
Hallie, we have been
your
hearing from members of the
natural
Trump,
position.
family tonight. In fact,
You
Garrett
know you
mentioned
want
some
to
of them.
bow to me.
Obviously, I guess they are the lone conduits. The campaign itself is being very quiet right now.
You don't.
Yeah,
you don't want. You don't want the burdens
sort of communicating to the American
of being
people,
in
as
charge.
their father has now done
You
in that
need a
Truth
ruler.
Social, that
Like,
online post
that's going to
that Garrett
be
just referenced how their dad is
him
doing.
from now
Donald
on.
Trump Jr. is saying that
It's
his father
going to be
is in good
amazing.
spirits, that he has spoken with him.
It's going to be
I have heard
amazing.
from somebody else who has spoken with the former president, very close with him, who says describes him as
insufferable,
very
Clive.
tough. And
Clive
so
Boyce
we know
said
that the former
he's
president
going to
was
be
shot in the ear
insufferable.
based on, of course, that post. His daughter Ivanka
It's gonna
Trump
be a very
also
long summer.
releasing a
Oh,
post
my
saying that she
God.
loves her father, condemning political violence as so many on either side of the aisle have
Maybe
done
that was
tonight
part of
now
the
over the
motive.
course of the last 3
Oh,
hours
it
or
was
so.
glass from
I
the
was struck listening to your
teleprompter.
conversation
Okay, so
there
that's
with Congressman
the
Kelly
second
Lester,
person
who
saying that.
who knows Butler very well. That's his hometown. He was raised there.
That's
the
the
place where
second
this
person
rally was
saying
held.
that.
This is
Where did we get
to
that
use a
from? I'll
cliche,
tell you what.
Lester, it
I'll
was
look it up. I got a
Trump
whole other
country. I mean, this is
computer
a place
open here
that skews heavily
just for
Republican,
stuff like this.
where Republicans outnumber
Does that look like a
Democrats 2-1,
clean
where Donald Trump
slash through
handily
the
won back in
cartilage?
2020 by something
Yeah,
like
this looked like a
2/3
cut.
of the vote there.
That's why I
This
said
is
it's not a
place
bullet
where
that
he
hit him.
would, of course, be focusing on coming up
And
in this
especially
upcoming
when
election.
he said, "I know it was a
notable
bullet," that means
location
it
for his
definitely.
rally just
I
2 days
should have
now
known. The
before
minute that
convention
he said, "I know it
supposed
was
to
a bullet,"
begin, because
that's when you know it
was
wasn't
the
a bullet.
last rally before Milwaukee. There was some question 4 hours ago as to whether or not the former president might actually roll out his running mate.
No, what happened? I'm sorry, guys. I failed. What just happened? All right, I see.
Oh, sometimes that one you have to refresh it.
No, I was typing on the wrong keyboard.
This changes everything. That is reflected
I
by
have
some
my
of the
second
conversations that I've had as well.
computer up here.
So people are going, how could this go on as normal? So I think there is a real question mark as to the days ahead. But I think probably the most urgent one, and the question that we are working on too, is just physically, where does Mr. Trump go from here? Will we hear, for example, from any of the doctors
That glass
who
from the
treated him?
teleprompter
Will we perhaps
really,
see him publicly, maybe
really
tonight, maybe
seems
early
most
tomorrow morning?
like-
Will
I
he
mean,
want to make
they-
an appearance
they
like
were
that to come
shooting
out
and the
and
glass hit
reassure
him.
the American people that he is in fact okay, that he is in fact in good spirits, Lester? And so I think there is obviously more
Thanks,
to come on the
Clive.
story as we continue
Yeah.
to report it out, both politically and from a
I
law
don't think-
enforcement
listen.
perspective, as you see the former president
Thank
there,
you,
who is
Betty
becoming now an iconic image.
Hallie,
Listen,
thank you. Let me
somebody-
go to Kristen
Girl.
Walker, our
You're the
Washington,
best.
D.C.
Thank you
bureau.
so
We're
much.
hearing from
Friggin'
members
best.
of the President's, President Biden's
Ukraine
cabinet
subjugation,
in reaction
human
to the Sapir
being.
assassination attempt.
That's exactly.
Lester, we
You
are
crave
the Secretary of
subjugation.
State Antony Blinken posting, "I am shocked and
That's Trump
saddened
from
by the
now
shooting
on.
of former President Trump's rally and grateful
Clive said
that
that he
is
heard
safe,"
the-
reiterating
the,
what the president said
The
tonight, that
prompter
there is
thing from
absolutely
another.
no
Is that
place
the
for
prompter
political
thing? The glass
violence
from another
in
from the
America.
prompter
We
from
must all
another
condemn it. We're
podcast?
also hearing from the Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, who says the entire Department of Defense condemns this violence, which has absolutely no place in our
Look at them all like
democracy.
with
I
their
think
cell
you're going
phones
to
out.
hear
There's
that
gonna
term
be so
reiterated
much
a number of times. Austin goes on to say,
to
"This
go
is not
through.
the way we resolve our differences in America, and it must never be. I am relieved
I'm just
that
waiting
reports
for
indicate former
a
President
real
Trump is safe,
press
and I am praying
conference
for
from
him
the-
and his family and everyone affected by this appalling
I don't know.
incident." So
From
incredibly
who?
strong
The cops?
language coming from the
From the
Biden
cops, maybe.
administration, bolstering what we heard from
I mean,
President
the
Biden
thing
tonight,
is, they said
condemning
it.
this
They,
violence
the person
in
might have been on a
strongest terms
rooftop.
possible. And Lester,
I want to hear
again,
from the
this is a
doctors.
moment where are people on both sides of the aisle.
I want to know if he was actually shot.
Condemn this.
It sounds like I said, if
as a country, and
if it was there are different calibers. There is small, like sound like really pew pew, 22, maybe ghost guns, even BB. Then there was two big shots afterwards.
Wanting to get to the bottom of how this unfolded.
And
the chairman of the House
I honestly think that they just wanted him to know that he could get got. They're trying to go for fear, and they're smart enough to know to actually kill him is the worst thing that could have ever happened. That's what I really think. I don't know for sure though, guys, but I do know that wasn't a bullet. I've seen enough. That's not a bullet.
Exactly what happened and how.
Yeah, but it looks like an actual bullet did kill the spectator.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's more shots. There's different calibers, so there's more than one gun. There were different calibers. So one was a 22, or one is a 9, and one is the shot. One is a rifle or of some sort, right?
It's fair to say that.
So every gun expert has said the same thing. There were multiple shots from different caliber guns.
More about this shooter will certainly probably direct many of the conversations we'll have in the coming days. I want to go back to Tom Winter now, our investigative
And as usual, it's
Tom,
not the person. It's not the person who's been egging on violence and
Tom, you there?
Calling for violence.
Yeah, hey Lester.
That gets hurt.
Just been on the phone.
It's the innocent bystander who's been wrapped up and caught up in the foolishness.
We can say that the shooter has been identified to us by 4 senior law enforcement officials as a male. And I think shortly, we're just in the process of going through the last bit of verification. I kind of alluded to this when we were speaking moments ago. We're going to be able to show you video of where or a still image of where this individual was. And it's coming into a little bit more clarity at this point of where this person was. Obviously, they were using some sort of a high-powered rifle. As you know, a handgun would not be able to fire with the accuracy and velocity from the distance this individual would have been at. What type of weapon that is specifically, I've heard a lot of different things floating around and things competitively. It's just my experience that it's too soon to really get a handle on that level of granular detail. We do not have yet a name. As I mentioned to you the last time we spoke, there are a number of names on social media that do not appear to be the individual that's involved in this, and we're still waiting to get some clarification on that. So right now, here's the state of the investigation at 9:40 Eastern Time. Law enforcement believes that they have a single alleged shooter who is now deceased. That individual, that name that they have, is being kept very close to this investigation. They are in the process of trying to get any other information about this person's motives, their background, that they can get, and then to be able to figure out where this investigation goes. Of course, they want to rule out whether or not this individual had any help. They want to rule out what may have led up to this. And of course, long term, Lester, there'll be an analysis of the security plan for this site. The security plan going forward for the former president will undoubtedly change radically. I'm sure effective immediately. And so that will be a big change at various rally sites. And then there'll be a look into, was there anything about this individual that could have been looked at further? Did anybody know if they had any sort of knowledge of this in advance? So those are all the things that are happening literally as we speak. We do know that the FBI was requested by the U.S. Secret Service to investigate this, and that call was obviously taken, and the FBI is very much involved along with the local U.S. Attorney's Office, and they will go through and get the necessary warrants for the property of this individual and anybody known to them. And the question is, obviously, where did things come from and when, and was this person picked up in the moments beforehand? We're a little bit more cautious in this day and age, not that we never were, but we're a little more cautious in this day and age with deep fake videos, with AI generated videos and images that we really try to do to the best of our human ability, an exhaustive effort to make sure that things that are floating around online or are sent to us are in fact accurate and are not some sort of machine-generated image. The images you are looking at are most certainly not. And it should be pointed out that there's a number of photographers that are part of the press pool.
I'm going to stop. Guys, really important, really important. I just want to tell you how important this is, if you don't mind. I just noticed something, so I decided to look for it again. I want you to take a look at what these people are doing and who they're directing their anger at. Can we take
said this like an hour before it happened. I was like, this would be the perfect.
Can we take a look at this? I want you to see they're putting him in.
The man that got hit, there was no assistance that needed to be given, and unfortunately his family witnessed the whole thing. It seemed like he had several family members in the bleacher with him, and they were quite upset. They didn't know. They were in shock. They didn't quite know what was going on, but the man was definitely killed instantaneously.
Could you tell sort of how many family members or people who knew him were with him, and what was their reaction?
I thought there was 5 people. Two of them were relatively hysterical. So, but they were, when we took the man out of the bleachers, he went to the tent. There was an aid tent or some type of tent behind the bleachers where they took the body, and they immediately evacuated the family with them. And 2 out of the 5, it seemed, were, in shock, hysterical. They were still trying to process what was going on.
Joseph, from where I was standing, we heard the shots. We saw the president go down.
Yeah, I saw President Trump get hit. Yeah.
What can you tell us? What details you remember?
It seemed like his head was off to the side, and it seemed like he got nicked in the ear.
Was that before the Secret Service took him down to the ground, covered him?
Right before the Secret Service. I mean, it was maybe, again, it's hard to tell, time dilates when, it seemed like it was a second or two. Like the first 7 shots that went off, the man got hit, he was killed almost instantly. The woman in the bleachers, she got injured, she got hit in the forearm and the hand. And then in those rounds that were fired, again, I was videoing the event, so that's when I saw Trump get hit. And it seemed to me like he was looking to the side and the round grazed his ear. So.
That also makes sense. Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
I just saw this pop up. The what caused Donald Trump's bleeding? Former president shot in ear. Glass myth debunked.
Okay. Yeah, what he says just makes sense, because if the person died off the first shot, but Donald held his ear, it very well could be they just missed. It nicked his ear. It's hard to believe that a bullet nicks your ear and leaves the piece there. I mean, the bullet, you guys think of a bullet as, most people think of a bullet like this, right? Like a piece of metal that's a cylinder. But in the air, it spreads and turns into a big, ball. It's not, but it could have nicked him. I mean, he could be that friggin' lucky that it just nicked his ear. Wow. All right, let's continue. There's something
else. Could you
else.
tell the gentleman that was hit in the head what angle he was in relation to the former president, which direction the bullets were coming from and to?
So it looked like he was facing the president at the very far left portion of the bleachers. So he's directly facing it. Again, it seemed to me like the shots were coming from the rear, behind us. And for me, it seemed like the man was in the way. I guess.
In the way of the former president?
No, it seemed like the man was in the way of the shots between whoever was shooting the gun and the president. The man was hit. It seemed like he was in the crossfire.
And I know.
That's what it seemed like.
And I know you're in shock and still processing all of this. It's sort of hard to evaluate our own emotions in this moment, but you just experienced something horrific.
Yes.
What can you tell us about your state of mind right now?
Yeah, I've had opportunities to go to these rallies before. It was the first one I ever went to. Had time off to go do it. I was kind of excited to go, but it's. Everyone, it's something you don't expect. It comes out of the blue. It's like a bolt out of the blue, and it's shocking. The way politics goes in this country, it just seems like it's really polarized. Everyone's just very angry. I'm honestly shocked this didn't happen earlier. I was commenting to my friend and went to the event with me. I was like, the back behind the bleachers, it's really open. It seems like a really open venue, and it's just, I got this sense that,
I want you guys to look at the crowd here.
Oh, if someone really wanted to do something, again, I was openly talking to her. I was like, if something was bad.
That's the first middle finger towards the press. See who they're about to start blaming for this. This is what I mean by be vigilant, be careful, stay tuned.
It was going to be happening. This is the perfect venue to have.
There it is. That's the point towards them. That's the next guy who starts pointing towards them.
I just said this like an hour before it happened. I was like, this would be the perfect place to do it. And, surprisingly enough, it happened.
And now the rest of them.
Devastatingly prescient observation from you. Let me ask you one more question, because from where I was, there was confusion. Then Trump stood up and there was some cheer.
When you don't know who to lash out at, you start to just pick. You just start to pick people. You just start to find whatever he has been talking about.
And then
they will blame Biden.
People sort of remained, those that weren't in sort of the immediate zone where you were, people were still sort of cheering, talking, trying to figure out what was going on. How quickly did you know that whether or not there was still a dangerous situation? It seemed like people sort of...
Let's go forward here.
Share your thoughts, if you would.
Yeah, and none of it, of course, taking away Lester.
I want to hear what Biden had to say one more time, if you guys don't mind. Then we'll go right back to the live.
That available to you, I may be able to.
Supposed to be a human shield, and in that moment, that is what they become. They become human shield. Your job in that moment is to protect your protectee, whoever that protectee is. So they all encompass him. And the other thing you do, you are designed to actually make yourself as big as possible to make sure that any potential rounds or shots that come, you don't want them to miss you and hit your protectee. So as they're hunkered down, they're locking him down. And if you look at the shot, actually, there's a shot where you can see the front of the stage, and around it, you'll see that design, that almost like a big...
I don't know what's going on. Oh, God, don't do this to me now.
According to ABC, the Trump shooter used an AR-15 style rifle, according to the Secret Service.
Okay. AR-15 style rifle, according to ABC.
Yeah.
There's no longer multiple calibers?
I'm looking for anything more recent.
Okay. All right, we'll just go back to let's go back to some live. I wanted it to go with Biden, but I have some troubles here.
Well, here's the thing. They're going to do more and a lot more. So there is a lot more that can be done. For one, it's not just the U.S. Secret Service that's got the manpower. The majority of the manpower doesn't come from the Secret Service. The majority of the manpower comes from the local police department, the men and women that work locally and for the state. So you're going to see an upscale of the state and the local police entities coming in to secure the RNC. That's where the upscale is going to take place, because they too...
Tired of overpaying for rent?
Guys, let's hear what Biden
what if we
had to
told
say?
you that you could live somewhere for only...
If you don't mind.
Thanks for coming, folks. I've been thoroughly briefed by all the agencies in the federal government as to the situation, based on what we know now. I have tried to get a hold of Donald. He's with his doctors. Apparently he's doing well. I plan on talking to them shortly, I hope, when I get back to the telephone. Look, there's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this. And I want to thank the Secret Service and all the agencies, including the state agencies, that have been engaged in making sure that people and we have more detail to come relative to other people maybe injured in the audience. I don't have all that detail. We'll make that available to you.
I gotta say, Macaroni, can you imagine if this is the catalyst to banning assault weapons? Can you imagine if Trump comes out tomorrow and says, yo, we gotta ban these assault weapons, and all the sycophants go, okay, he said it.
Disarm everyone in America except me.
Maybe there will be. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this will have. Maybe there's a silver lining here after all.
A little later tonight, but we'll put out a statement if we don't. If I'm not able to give it, if it's not convenient for you all. But the bottom line is that the Trump rally was a rally that he should have been able to be conducted peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. And everybody must condemn it. Everybody. I'll keep you informed, and if I'm able to speak to Donald, I'll let you know that as well. So far, it appears he's doing well, number one. Number two, that they're thoroughly investigating what happened to anyone else in the audience. We have some reports, but not final reports. And every agency in the federal government, and I'm going back to my phone to speak with the federal agencies that are being put together again to give me an updated briefing. Has anything happened they learned any more in the last couple hours? So thank you very much, and I hope I get to speak to them tonight, and I'll get back to you if I do. Okay?
Mr. President, do you think this was an assassination attempt?
I don't know enough to. I have an opinion, but I don't have any facts.
There you go. That's what a president looks like, guys, in case you forgot. Real quick, I think we should, well, I know people got mad we went to Fox. I just want to see what they were saying, but they don't want to see it. Let's hit a different place. Let's see what CNN has to say,
I'm told that we're about to get that in there, but there's video, Wolf, that shows the top of the rooftop of that building. That's where the alleged shooter, the suspected shooter, is believed to have fired the multiple shots that went toward the former president and the stage there. Again, this is, there's varying estimates out there, but it looks very, very close. Right outside the venue, would have been right outside where the Secret Service does screening for anyone who goes inside the rally. So again, we're talking probably the distance of about a football field and a half from where the alleged shooter, the suspected shooter, was on that rooftop, and where it appears that's where the people who were attending the rally could clearly see the body of that person down after the counter snipers from the Secret Service immediately took action and shot and killed him. So that's what we believe. That's what law enforcement at this point believes. That's what the order of events. That's where the alleged shooter, the suspected shooter, was standing or was firing from. Again, very short distance, very close distance to the venue where the former president was speaking for just about 6 or 7 minutes. Now, that raises some very, very, very big questions, of course, for the Secret Service. Okay, we now, I'm told we can show this video now, again, shot by one of the attendees at the rally. You can see the person there on the rooftop. This is after the Secret Service, it appears, has already shot and killed this person. They're down on that rooftop. That's where Elena Train is seeing that huge police presence right now. There's every law enforcement agency that you can imagine is at that scene trying to collect some of the evidence. She saw as well, Elena also saw an ambulance there. So it appears, again, as part of the crime scene investigation, all of that is being done as we speak, Wolf. And so what we see there in that video is the moments after the counter snipers from the Secret Service take action and take out the alleged shooter, the suspected shooter, who again is firing from that elevated position, that rooftop that is just outside of where the rally was taking place. Again, not a very, very short, not a long distance at all. And it'll raise some very important questions for the Secret Service and the protocols that were being taken before this rally. We've been to all of these events, Wolf, and we know we've always seen Secret Service, local SWAT teams secure every elevated position that could possibly be
they know
where someone
everything
could take a shot
by now.
at the person who is being protected. And so the question that will emanate from this today is what was done to try to secure those positions that are outside of the rally. Wolf?
Yeah, because
but what
normally
they
you
will
would
allow
think
to
that they
come
would
out
be
will
watching an elevated spot like that.
JR mentioned
but
earlier that
sadly,
he
clearly someone
saw
missed
somewhere
that
that
spot
the
right there, and the
shooter
shooter
was there with his
shot
family,
those
and that
bullets.
when the family found out, they had to be led away.
One
I
last
haven't
thing
been
I'll
able to
say. I mean,
confirm
there
that,
is
though.
from additional video that is out there that shows the Secret Service. They are also at an elevated position, so they clearly had visibility and could take that person out quickly once they fired those shots. I mean, they acted extremely quickly, so they did the right thing once those shots were fired. Obviously, they acted after the shots were fired already. Wolf?
And very quickly, Evan, do we have any sense at all, given the distance from that elevated rooftop over to where the former president was speaking, what kind of weapon was used to fire those bullets?
Again, we only know from some of the eyewitnesses who've told police that they believe it was a rifle, a long rifle. We don't know what kind of rifle, and that's something that you have ATF there at the scene. They're going to be doing a trace, Wolf, of that firearm to see where it was fired, where it was purchased, whether this person bought it, who bought it, and where, how long ago that happened. Again, as part of this investigation that is now ongoing.
Our Elena Treen is on the scene for us. Evan, stand by. We'll get back to you. She's getting more information. What else are you learning, Elena?
Well, Wolf, I'm told, I actually just spoke with a police officer who's on the scene here tonight. They say that this building behind me is the one where the shooter was on the roof here behind me. I know that Evan's law enforcement sources have confirmed that as well. Now, to the left of that building from my location, actually on the stage, it was to the right of Donald Trump's right shoulder, over Trump's right shoulder. That is where the shots were coming from, the officer on the ground told me. Now, you can see there's still a heavy police presence here. As I had said earlier, there were at least a dozen police cars around this area. We immediately came over here to ask about what the heavy police presence was for. And like I said, a police officer on the ground confirmed to me that, yes, this is where the shooter was, on the roof. We're still getting additional details, but as you can see, the fence here, there's a fence around the perimeter where the stage and the rally was. This building is outside of that fence. It's definitely higher than the fence. You can see that the fence doesn't go that high. There is a red building, and I'm not sure if you can see it on our camera here. There's a red building to the right of the stage. That is where the snipers, I had saw them myself on the ground when I was inside the rally. The snipers were on top of the building, and that's where they were able to immediately respond to the shooter in real time. But you can see, I mean, it's very dark now. It obviously wasn't earlier today. You can see here, though, just how close this building is to the actual rally venue and the stage itself, where Donald Trump was speaking earlier very briefly before the round of shots were fired. Wolf?
Elena Treen on the scene for us. Elena, thank you very much. Anderson, back to you.
It is about 10 p.m. here on the East Coast, a little less than 4 hours into the investigation of an assassination attempt on Donald Trump.
At his final rally before Monday's Republican National Convention, the rally being held in Butler, Pennsylvania, just a few miles north of Pittsburgh. The former president was just a few minutes into his remarks, referring to a large graphic nearby when all of a sudden shots were fired.
So we're going to play you the entirety of it so you can hear not just how it unfolded, but also you're going to hear the voices of the Secret Service agents as they piled on the former president to protect him and as they tried to figure out exactly when they could move him off, waiting to actually move him off until the shooter had been killed, had been neutralized. You're going to hear them, and also hear the voice of the former president at several points. Let's watch.
No, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
That was a different caliber. But now
Hold, when you're ready, on you. Ready?
I don't think.
Move, go.
Hawkeye's here.
You ready? We're good. Shooter's down. down. Are we good to move? Let's move. Let's move. We're clear.
Yeah, wow. Everybody who sees the barrels being pointed at the crowd, literally.
I got you, sir. I got you, sir. Let me get my shoes, sir.
That only had like.
So we gotta move to the class.
That's a no-no. That's only they're really scared.
Watch out.
Wow. USA, huh? You're 100% right, USA. It's only in the USA. You're 100% right. USA, guns for free on the corner.
The former president was hit in the ear and hustled away to a local hospital. The gunman who fired from outside the security perimeter, this is new video of him on the rooftop he fired from, was killed. This is a video of him after he was dead. So one of the rally spectators was also killed. 2 others were critically wounded. And we're also going to show you the this aerial photo that we have, just giving you a sense of the location of the building where the shooter was. You can see there the location of the suspect gunman's position toward the top of the screen, and you can see the approximate area of the stage where the former president was shot. It gives you a sense of the location of both and how it was outside the perimeter. Wolf?
And just a short time ago, Anderson, the former president posted on social media about the incident, and he said, among other things, this, quote, "I want to thank the United States Secret Service and all of law enforcement for their rapid response on the shooting that just took place in Butler, Pennsylvania. Most importantly, I want to extend my condolences to the family of the person at the rally who was killed, and also to the family of another person that was badly injured. It is incredible that such an act can take place in our country. Nothing is known at this time about the shooter, who is now dead. I was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of my right ear. I knew immediately that something was wrong in that I heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through the skin. Much bleeding took place, so I realized then what was happening. God bless America." That was the statement that was just issued by the former president. Anderson.
Yeah, Wolf, joining us right now on the phone is Dr. Joseph Mine. He was at the rally and witnessed the shootings. Dr. Mine, thank you for talking to us. Can you just tell us, first of all, where you were when the shots went out and what you did?
So I was attending the rally. I was at the seated section right in front of the bleachers at the far left of the stage. So it would have been the absolute right flank of where President Trump was speaking at the podium.
And once the president was taken away, did you realize immediately what was going on?
Yeah, I'm familiar with gunfire, so I was there with friends. I heard 7 shots in very quick success, and like 7 shots probably with under maybe a second and a half. Someone sitting next to me said, "Oh wow, who brought firecrackers to the rally?" And I knew immediately it was gunfire. My friend, hit the deck. I didn't hit the deck initially because I saw where the rounds coming from. There was a man in the bleachers right adjacent to me that took a gunshot wound to the head. As a physician, I could tell just when he got hit, he was killed instantly.
You saw him being hit?
Yeah, I saw him being hit, and then within a few rounds, I had swung back to look at the podium, and that's when I saw President Trump get hit in the right ear. There was a lot of confusion, so, I was in the seated section right in front of the bleachers, so I jumped, because I'm a physician, so I thought it would render aid, so I jumped the metal barrier between the seated section and the bleachers. The man had been, the man had been hit in the head, had been killed I helped lift him up and take him out of the bleachers, and they took him to a tent behind the bleachers where I believe they were going to evaluate him some more. Then I noticed another woman who was in the bleachers that she had a gunshot wound to her forearm and hand, but I wasn't exactly sure because they were rushing her out, but it looked like she might have had a gunshot wound to the chest as well.
Ooh.
So the man you saw being shot and killed, he was shot before, you believe, before the bullet grazed the former president?
I believe he was in the way of the gunfire. So I believe that whoever it was in the way, I don't know who it was. He's a complete stranger to me. But, the bullets as they were being fired, he was in the crossfire. He was in the way. So in that fusillade of, rounds that were fired, he was hit, within the first round or two, and then a round or two after that is when President Trump was hit. I saw it. I have it on video, but on my phone. But he was hit in the right ear.
Right.
And again, that's when I saw him, and that's when Secret Service pulled him to the ground and evacuated him out. But I mean, initially, I think half the crowd thought it was fireworks or it was a prank, but I think that was the far right from the podium as you were looking at the podium dead on. The crowd was close to the gunfire. You knew it was gunfire because people were getting hit. So I think there was initial few seconds of confusion, but, people responded pretty quickly.
I'm not sure when it was that you learned the location of the shooter.
All right, let's go on to MSNBC.
Rally. She was there when the shots rang out.
Glass-shattering.
Dasha, earlier we saw people, you were talking to people who were leaving. Dasha, earlier we saw people, you were talking to people who were leaving.
Injuries as a result of the shooting. Joseph, you told me off camera that you may have.
Are we still getting live feed? Is it
I'm so sorry to be talking to you in this tragic moment, but can you describe what it is that you saw?
I was attending the rally. I was in the set of bleachers, the very far left of the podium where President Trump was speaking. I was there with a friend.
Go back to CNN till we get to some ABC.
I'm looking at some of these headlines, Googling around the internets, and already there's been some online sleuths, as they call them, trying to identify the shooter and coming up with all these photos and statements, and they've falsely identified some guy in Italy.
What?
I mean, this kind of talk just doesn't do any help. Doesn't do any
Absolutely
good.
none of it.
All the speculation and finger pointing.
Yeah, I I doubt we'll get any more, but
scale.
And
I do want to
another story here says that the majority of the conspiracy jumpers are left wings. So they're all saying this is their immediate knee-jerk reactions to think it's staged because we just don't trust this guy. Mainly,
and we don't trust him. We don't trust their people. They've already started a riot and an insurrection. And
we can't put it past him. It's so believable that he could stage this.
Yeah, and everyone and they're all pro guns. Every one of them has guns. They've all been talking about a civil war. They can't wait to start a civil war. They've got manifestos. So it's easy to believe. I would just say simply because of that, we need to make sure that that's the case before we say it.
Not official at that point. This is obviously
it's not unfounded.
The Biden campaign
For sure.
has canceled all of its advertising in the media, effective immediately. We're basically at a situation where a former president of the United States and the president, the candidate who's leading in the polls, a lot of the polls, came within a couple of inches of losing his life. Multiple shots fired at him and one hitting him. So it's an extremely serious situation in this country right now.
So, you know what? Really quick, what you said might be more important. If the theory is of course, lefties are going to be like, it's staged. What about the idea, guys, how many times have we heard this guy was going to go, and the guy who went down to Atlanta to shoot up rap concerts to start a race war, or the guy who went to there's been reports of people who wanted to do things to somebody and blame it on somebody else to start something happening, right? I don't even know stage scene. I think he's too much of a coward to actually stage something like that and actually be hit by something. But there's of course a likelihood. There's of course not even a likelihood. There's a option that somebody could be trying to start that war, that race war. Somebody could be trying to start that thing because they've been trying to for months and years. So I understand. That that's the knee-jerk reaction. It just makes sense. And quite frankly, 90% of all of the terrorism in this country is from right-wingers. It's not foreigners, it's not Muslims, it's right-wing, white, nationalist terrorism. FBI will tell you that. So that's why it's easy to believe. I can't say that for sure because we got to be truthful and honest. But of course you'd believe that. But it could be a lot of different things. And one of them could be not a false flag, but a trying to make the statement, trying to get their own side riled up. Sure, that's possible. They've already tried that a few times too. Like, look at what they did to Trump. Look at how they shot him. I just don't think that the person who thinks that way is that good of a shot to graze an ear and shoot somebody else. You know what I mean? Like, it's tough. It's tough. But somebody else said the beginning of Project 2025. Also, sure. The people who want to do the things that Project 2025 wants to do, the people who think that they're downtrodden on by every other race, that thinks that they're dying out, that they're subjugated in their own country, may do anything. And so that's why it's easy. It seems like it's easy to believe. But I find a hard time. I'd much more believe that it was somebody either trying to prove a point or trying to let him know that he could be got. Either one of those two seems more likely.
Steve, you are the Chief National Correspondent at Voice of America. I want to get your insights into how this is being covered by the US media, not just the traditional US media, but also the social media as well.
Well, as I mentioned, things are quite divisive on social media in the past couple of hours, and it's I haven't had time to really pay attention to too much of it because I've been writing stories and going on the air about this, but especially on the platform formerly known as Twitter, now called X, it is really dark, although what we're seeing across the political spectrum from most of the politicians and former presidents of the United States and leaders around the world are really coming together, wishing Trump a speedy recovery and being very grateful that he was not seriously wounded, and saying flatly that there's no room for this type of political violence in America. We've heard that from Joe Biden this evening and just about everybody in his chain of command.
And in amongst all of this, there already, Steve, has been a big conversation about the saturation of media, about echo chambers, misinformation, disinformation. What's your observation of how all of that is playing into this global conversation we're having right now?
Well, we've never had anything happen like this in the age of social media, right? The last such situation like this was the attempt on Ronald Reagan early in his presidency in 1981. And it's a whole different ballgame now, the way things travel very fast. And we know that there are so-called bad actors, some of them working for foreign governments who, when there is division in this country, are very quick to get into that mix and spread misinformation and try to stir people up. We don't know who's behind some of that right now, but it's very clear that there's all sorts of conspiracy theories going around right now.
Steve, we heard from Homeland Security Secretary, who is saying that the department is taking every possible measure to ensure the safety of President Biden, Trump and their respective campaigns. He said maintaining the security of the presidential candidates and their campaign events is one of our department's most vital priorities. Given that they are saying that and that we've seen this assassination attempt, there must have been some security failure at some point. I know that the shooter we've heard was not inside of the event, they were outside of the event, but no doubt as a result of this there will be changes in the security around the presidential nominees.
Well, there may be a request for Donald Trump to change the way he does these rallies in these open spaces. There's always a risk. You never can be 100% certain, but from the initial indications is that the gunman had a rifle. This is unconfirmed information, and was about 120, 150 meters away on sort of the roof of a building. I've been out at these rallies with President Trump when he was president, and with President Biden, and when they were on the campaign trail 4 years ago.
The new John
security
Wayne
is extremely tight.
There are all sorts of
sweeps
cowboy
of the
boots
venue and the surrounding spaces that
and
go
spurs
on
and start walking
for
around
hours and days
with the
before this
league,
event.
guys.
And yeah, where there was definitely a security failure
with
is
a
this was not something that happened inside the venue where they were screening the people, but from outside. But obviously someone who had a close enough and accurate shot to be able to wound the former president. And unfortunately, we know that one spectator has died who was shot, and 2 others are reported to be in critical condition.
Whoa, really?
Steve Herman from Voice of America, thank you very much for your time this evening.
You're welcome.
There are 2 others.
And I will just mention that we are expecting to hear from Anthony Albanese, from the Prime Minister, who has already released a statement in response to this assassination attempt in Pennsylvania, but he is due to speak in Canberra at some point. We did have a live shot of the media setting up for that event, but that's gone for now, but we are expecting it to happen at any moment, so we'll bring you those comments.
Yeah, from the Blue Room in Parliament House, meaning a very important comment from the Prime Minister and from the head of government, the Prime Minister has described the incident as concerning and confronting. In a statement earlier, Anthony Albanese says the incident at former President Trump's campaign event in Pennsylvania today is concerning and confronting. There is no place for violence in the democratic process. Prime Minister Albanese also expressed relief that former President Trump is safe.
We've also heard this morning from the Ambassador to the United States, Kevin Rudd, saying all Australians are shocked by the attack on former President Trump at his campaign rally this evening in Pennsylvania. Violence has no place in our democracies. That's a sentiment that's been repeated by so many people today in response to this. And Kevin Rudd goes on to say it's a relief to see that President Trump is safe and our thoughts are with him and his family.
Yeah, and we are seeing that live shot, and we'll bring you the comments from Prime Minister Anthony Albanese as soon as he stands up to speak. In the United States, Donald Trump's daughter has also posted to X saying, "Thank you for your love and prayers for my father and for the other victims of today's senseless violence in Butler, Pennsylvania. I'm grateful to the Secret Service and all the other law enforcement officers for their quick and decisive actions today. Ivanka continuing on, I continue to pray for our country. I love you, Dad, today and always.
So those are some responses that we've seen. We also, of course, heard from US President Joe Biden a couple of hours ago as well, also reiterating that sense that there is no place for violence in the US. He thanked the Secret Service for their involvement, which also Donald Trump also thanked the Secret Service for their quick action. You saw them rushing in after those shots were fired to shield Donald Trump and protect him and then take him off into that vehicle. So, there has been a lot of thanks and acknowledgement for the Secret Service for their quick action, not just in protecting Donald Trump, but also securing that area and protecting the crowd, although we know that there have been some deaths as well, tragically as well.
Yeah, and President Biden making the point that there is no place in America for this violence. He said it's sick. We cannot allow this to happen. We cannot condone this. President Biden saying the Trump rally should have been able to be conducted peacefully without any problems. So that was the comments that we heard from the President, Joe Biden, a couple of hours ago, as you say, and had also made the point, Joe, that he had been trying to get in touch with Donald Trump just to check in on a one-to-one basis to say, are you okay, and was going to update later.
Yes, and we do know that Donald Trump was receiving medical treatment but has been released and is doing fine. We heard from him. He posted on Truth Social, which is his social...
You guys, let me see if we got some other live news. Guys, let Darla know I came on here. We lost subscribers immediately because the first thing I said was how horrible this was. No one here is celebrating this. We might joke and have fun because you can't be sad for an hour, 2 hours straight. But the reality is nobody wants this. We hate political violence.
I was streaming for a good hour or so before Bruce jumped on, and I didn't have words to say. I kept my mouth shut most of the time because
I probably should have too. Because the minute I opened it, we lost people. But I had to say the truth. I just tried to tell people like this sucks, man. It sucks in every possible way, especially for us.
Yep.
You know, it's everything that we try not to do. But anyway, let's see if we can find some more live news real quick. I'll let this play in the background.
We're disappointed that it happened. That's all.
Yeah.
Period.
Yep.
Inexcusable attack on the democratic values that Australians and Americans share and the freedom that we treasure. These values are ones that unite our two countries. It's the basis of our alliance, is those shared values between our peoples as great democratic nations. And all Australians stand with our friends in the United States at this difficult time. Happy to take a couple of questions. Hang on, whoa.
You've spoken recently about the increased political vandalism and whether that would increase to violence. Do the actions of today increase your concern, and will there be any changes to security here?
Well, the security agencies will examine these events. There's a great deal of cooperation as Five Eyes partners between Australia and the United States, and I'm sure that there will be lessons to be learnt. I say again, though, we must lower temperature of debate. There is nothing to be served by some of the escalation of rhetoric that we see in some of our political debate, political discourse in the democratic world. It's a phenomenon that's not unique to the United States. And I just say we should be able to have political discussion and disagreement, do it respectfully, and that is really important.
Yeah, have you spoken to Ambassador Rudd? Have you been briefed by Ambassador Rudd? What insights has he shared with you, or what insights maybe do you have, or reflections on the impact of this on the race?
Yeah, I have spoken to Ambassador Rudd this morning. He has conveyed his thoughts and concerned very directly to the newly appointed chair of the Republican National Committee. He's received a response of appreciation for Australia's concern. Ambassador Rudd is due to attend the Republican National Convention. He'll attend both conventions as is appropriate. And Ambassador Rudd has done a rather extraordinary job of becoming known to all of the significant players in the United States, which is why he was able to have that contact immediately, and that is appropriate. I say with regard to political issues, this isn't a day for politics. This is a day to unite, to express our concern, regardless of one's political views. There is no place for the events that we saw today.
Prime Minister, can I just... Prime Minister, understandably, the US will be very internally focused in the wake of this incident. Do you have any insight or understanding as to how this might affect work already underway between Australia and the US? Is there going to be any impact in any of the areas we cooperate?
Oh, look, we cooperate with each other on a day-by-day basis. Our security agencies, of course, are linked through the Five Eyes. Our defence forces cooperate, and the economic relationship that we have as well is very significant. This is a relationship not just between leaders, but between peoples. And today, that is why Australians' thoughts will go to our American friends.
Prime Minister, do you think this is a result of the hyper-polarisation that we are seeing in the US? And you said it's not unique to just the United States. Are you worried about that flowing on in Australia as well?
I've said very clearly that I'm concerned, not related to this incident. I've been talking for a long period of time about people having conflict fatigue in this country, about being able to have a political discourse which is respectful. I think that's the essence of democracy. There's a lot of shouting going on. You know, a point is not made more significant by it being done in capital letters. Social media is clearly having an impact as well. And, you know, there's still much that we don't know about the incident, can I say this? And there's nothing to be gained from speculating. We don't know motives, all of these issues. So I do urge, one of the things I urge everyone to do is to exercise caution when reading unverified reports of the events and to seek out credible news sources. We all need to be on guard against those seeking to use misinformation to create division. And this is a time for unity, it's a time for calm. It's a time for allowing the authorities in the United States to do their jobs.
Prime Minister, a few weeks ago, experts warned a parliamentary committee into right-wing extremism movements that election-related violence in the US could have implications here in Australia. What exactly is your government doing to address that issue, and are you confident in the protocols that are in place for MP safety, given the heightened threats recently?
Well, we continue to monitor these issues. I've expressed my concern that people who just dismiss actions outside electorate offices, these things can escalate, which is why they need to be called out unequivocally and opposed. The sort of incidents that we've seen outside some electorate offices are inappropriate. People can express their views democratically, whether that be in favour of issues or against issues. We have peaceful demonstrations are fine. Some of the incidents that we've seen certainly are not. They've crossed the line.
Prime Minister, I just want to follow on from MP safety. I understand that it's a developing situation and security agencies are still talking to each other, but has the AFP or will the AFP reach out to MPs? Will extra security be offered in the wake of this?
The AFP do their job, and one of the ways that they do their job is not by me speculating out here, but by putting in place appropriate measures.
No sympathy there.
What do you think it will do to our democracy if it is that politicians need to be more removed from the public and unable to move about?
Well, I think that would be a tragedy if that occurred. I just had 3 days in Queensland. I went to Mount Coot-tha in Brisbane, will be familiar certainly to Queenslanders. It's essentially a lookout over that great city of Brisbane.
Identify more details about what happened.
I don't have controlled environments. I did that. I walked through the city of Brisbane to and from appointments. On Friday, I had a meeting with the Prime Minister.
Sorry, guys, just setting up the next street.
Prime Minister Teo. I yesterday had a press conference in the Botanic Gardens. I walked to the Botanic Gardens. I walked through the Botanic Gardens. I engaged with people who are exercising, people who just turned up there. I walked through supermarkets and shopping centres regularly with Ali France. We went to a local coffee shop and area, shopping area, precinct in the electorate of Dixon the other morning. And as I said, in Ryan, I did at Mount Coot-tha. In Ford, we went to a TAFE and we mixed with a whole range of students and people in the community in Logan Lee. That's really important. It's really important that people be able to do that. One of the things that I find about our great democracy is the great privilege that it is of being able to chat with people who aren't expecting to see you. You get a different level of feedback because it's very real. It's not staged for the cameras. You get to engage, and here in this city of Canberra, people are a bit more relaxed, I've got to say. In Canberra, they expect to see the PM. People normally say hello to Toto before they say hello to me here. And that's a good thing that people can do that. You know, I go and buy the dog food and stuff here at various Woolies around Woden or Dixon. I know where they all are because it's a good thing that you do that. I think it's a great thing. You don't see, you know, the President of the United States, I'm sure, doesn't go to the local shopping centre. I think it's a good thing that here in Australia I can. It's a good thing that I'm able to walk around, and I don't want to see that diminished. I don't want to see that diminished. There's a report today, you know, I went to see Radio Badman last weekend at Sydney Uni at a concert in the middle of people. People say hi. I obviously have security with me at all times, and that's just part of the job. But that's a good thing that people can see that, and I sincerely hope that in Australia that can continue. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Ben.
And that is the...
So right after Trump got shot, the crowd bursted into when he went into his fist bump. The crowd bursted into USA, USA, and they're 100% right. The Prime Minister of Australia is telling you why this only happens in the USA, USA, USA. Huh? That's why. Because they don't have guns of war where you can sit on the top of a rooftop and shoot presidents. And we have to have a security force and the people who surround the president 24/7. This guy gets to go to the grocery store and meet the people at the dog park because of USA, USA. Isn't it ironic while chanting that. Chanting that right after the only thing that happens in the USA, more often than anywhere else in a democratic country, happens. Doesn't happen in Canada. Doesn't happen in the UK. Doesn't happen in Sweden. Doesn't happen in Germany. Doesn't happen in France. Doesn't happen in Australia. Doesn't happen in New Zealand. USA! USA! That's where it happens. Awesome. Awesome. I'm glad he pointed that out. Where's my volume here?
Trump looking over to his right. In this video right here that we're looking at, of this kind of tan building with the white roof, what's blurred out there is what is believed to be the body of the alleged shooter. To answer a question our colleague Jim Kavanaugh was asking before, it appears to me, looking at this video without the blur, that he is wearing some sort of a camouflage type pant. It's not clear to me whether they're wearing any sort of a tactical gear or not. In a separate video we're examining that we believe to be accurate, it appears that the Secret Service counter-sniper team, so they're looking for people that might shoot at former President Trump.
Doesn't happen in Ireland, Clive. Thank you.
And they would be in a position to shoot at that person or at least spot them. It appears that they noticed this individual, or at least are in the kind of looking in the general area, and it appears that they fire back in less than a second or so after the initial shot is fired. It's not clear, frankly, who fires first. So that's a little bit of detail. And according to our colleagues at NBCnews.com, and we're looking at the map now, they just put this together. It's you're looking at the location of where it appears the body was found and approximately where the stage is where the former president spoke today. And as they've done the math, there are approximately 148 yards between those two locations. So you can kind of get a sense of how all this went down, and grateful to our colleagues for bringing this up so quickly. So that's what we know as far as the location of this and the geography. As we get a better sense of what's going on. Separately, we understand now, and just got word from the FBI that Christopher Wray, who is the FBI director, has conducted a briefing right now of the National Security Council of the United States. He's briefed President Biden and National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan as well. So again, FBI Director Christopher Wray, now that the FBI has taken over this investigation, they're the lead agency, has briefed the President, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, and the NSC on the status of the investigation as best as the FBI knows it at this point. So all of this is happening as we've been speaking here and looking at these videos and examining what has happened, but obviously a clear picture. We are told by the Secret Service that that rooftop, approximately 148 yards away, was outside of their security perimeter. So anybody going to this event, the people you see in the rally, in the foreground of this camera shot, in the background sitting behind Trump, that those individuals would have been screened and gone through magnetometers and made sure that there was nothing on their person, certainly no weapons on their person.
If possible.
That would have occurred. This
quick update. We have a quote from Robert F. Kennedy Jr., appearing on Fox News, recalled the assassination of his father, Robert F. Kennedy, in 1968, and Uncle President John F. Kennedy in 1963. The independent presidential candidate said that the nation needed to tone down the political vitriol. We can't allow our country to devolve into violence, quote unquote. Okay.
appears to have been outside of that location, and the question is going to be now is, did that individual have line of sight? Should the perimeter have been pushed back further, and what exactly happened leading up to this? So obviously continued questions. There are calls for Congress for briefings from the Secret Service. That'll take place in the coming days. The questions are being asked right now, and we'll see where all this goes as far as the security plan. And as I alluded to you earlier, as we all know, Trump has to make his vice president pick, or is expected to in the coming couple of days. That only ramps up how busy the Secret Service is, because that individual needs to get protection as well. And once Trump is the nominee, he would normally get the full protection on top of what he gets as a former president. Well, obviously now we can assume that from here on out, Trump will have protection in his rallies, and the way that they're secured we have to assume will change here almost immediately, Lester.
All right, Tom, thanks. That map was very helpful to offer us a little perspective and kind of begin to piece together in our minds how this shooting took place. Let me bring in on the telephone Melody and Brent Hook. They were at this evening's rally and witnessed the shootings. Melanie or Brent, can you tell us what you saw and heard?
Yeah, we were sitting there, and all of a sudden we just heard, of course, what sounded like gunshots, and just total chaos then happened. I kind of looked to my right, and I saw the individual who got shot in the bleachers. I saw his hat come off, and then we just...
I just want to make sure
and just got down in the bleachers and just kind of hovered over everybody, trying to protect everybody around us.
I'll stand on this till I'm wrong, and I'll admit it was not a bullet.
Right beside us.
Yeah,
Just doesn't act
as we
that
see the
way.
video, there was a lot going on. The tactical teams were moving, the team moving around the former president. At that point, did you know what to do, how to protect yourself?
Well, yes and no. We just, everything's happening so quick, and you're not sure how many shooters there are or where they're at or anything, so you just kind of just like I said earlier, I've just used my mother's instinct and just grabbed the little girl behind me and just put her down in the bleachers and covered over top of her, and the rest of our family kind of gathered all around everybody else. And yeah, you don't ever plan for anything like that, so you just kind of have to just go with what you feel at the moment, I guess.
Yeah.
It was definitely terrifying.
So you were in the bleachers.
Easy to forget.
Really
We're talking about human
where the former
online.
president was?
Everything is digital.
He was facing forward.
It's easy to forget. We're talking about human beings with kids, families.
We were just a few feet from him.
Is this somebody you had met or encountered?
I think we had talked to him in line coming in, but we didn't know who he was personally, no.
We know this is, we don't have to get deep into it. We know this is a tough campaign right now. But did you ever imagine you would face this sort of thing at a rally?
Absolutely not, no. We are 100% Trump supporters. This was our first rally we ever attended. We were not in the least bit worried about anything like that. So we just pray that he's okay, and we pray for the families
middle fingers,
who, suffered everything.
To the media.
We're just not, my husband especially, he can kind of say his little point, but we just don't know how this happened.
Violence begets violence.
There were so much presence there, police presence and snipers, and I don't know how that guy possibly was able to do this.
Pointing out the similarity between when Hitler.
You did go through magnetometers, the metal detectors and all that, so did you feel safe going into this
to kill him?
arena?
That just made him crazier.
It made him believe he was a god, that he couldn't die, so he got worse, and the people got behind him stronger. It made him crazier and crazier.
40-some yards or something like that. I think it was a lot more than that.
And Trump as a narcissist.
Possibility for a long time, but I can't believe it now that it's actually happening.
I think they set the snipers up on the two buildings right behind where Trump would have been. And
I'm not
I watched them
shocked.
look over at that building. They looked over there with the binoculars quite a bit, and I didn't know what was going on.
Okay, so people have been watching this channel for a while. You can just go down. Just scroll down, scroll down, scroll down when you get a chance. This is time number 10, 11. I said as the election comes closer, violence will be had. Be prepared. What do I mean by that? Don't go grab a gun and shoot everybody, but it means that I'm not shocked at this. It means I'm saying this will happen. I'm saying this will happen.
Yeah, I guess I didn't mean shocked in so much as that it's a moment to where I stopped and
Yeah. I know what you mean. So I was shocked in that way too. In the immediacy, I was like, oh my God, this happened. But it's what I'm saying is expect more. The only way to fix this is to get him out. Not get rid of him. Get him out. We've got to elect somebody else. We've got to get to the ballots. We've got to go hard with the donations. We've got to go hard with the organizations, with the knocking on the doors. We've got to go hard on Facebook, on Twitter. We've got to go hard in finding the independent media sources and pumping them up full of independent money so that they stop talking about Biden's age and talk about the fact that one candidate wants to get rid of NATO and allow Russia to take over anybody because the rest of them aren't paying like a mob boss. And the other one had a bad night at a debate. We've got to start realizing that this is going to happen, and the only way to stop it is not to get a gun, not to shoot, try to find a way to go to a range. The only way to stop it is to stop Trumpism. We've got to unelect him.
well, it seems like the likelihood of being at any Trump gathering getting you hurt seriously or unalived is bigger than at a Biden rally.
Not anymore. Laura, that's what I'm saying.
Not anymore.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm not trying to lecture y'all. I'm so sorry. I know I got heat for it. I just want you to understand, like, this is it. This is it. The parking lot of a Biden rally is not safe. Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, I'll still stump. Yeah, I will still do everything I can. I come from Jamaica. JLP, and I believe the other was GNP. JLP and G, whatever, I'm going to forget what the second one is. They leave dead bodies on the floor because there's no such thing as a non-violent election for them. I'm not saying we're there. What I am saying is, if anybody tells you, man, I can't vote for Trump, I can't vote for Biden because of what he's doing in Israel, make sure these words conjure a spirit of defiance in you that you heard on Political Drain. To just say, if you can see, ask him one more time. See if it gives you something else to say to change one more mind. Right? That when you're on one more Facebook chat and you feel like just saying, you know what, forget it. I am just gonna block this person. They've turned into craziness. Leave another message and say, I know this person is lost, but if you're reading this, there's a chance you might just get it. Hit me up on the DM. If your husband is going through this and you're wondering what happened to him, hit me up. There's a few groups on Twitter and on Reddit that also have just piles of people who are losing their family members to the brain rot. And they're looking for someone to tell them that it's okay, that they don't hate them because they're a Republican. The only thing I'm giving you the warning for is not to go get a gun and fight like that, because that only begets more violence. The only thing I'm telling you this for is to realize we can push harder. It's much more important than we thought it was. Even though we knew it was so important, days like this remind us that maybe it's even one more thing that I can do. I didn't think of this one thing. And that's it. That's all we're here for, is the love.
Republican convention of this sort, of course, the 2000 convention happening at the heart of the pandemic. There was no crowd. There were no mass delegations here. And so for this event here, it is going to be moving on its forward. I talked to two different delegates just a short time ago, one telling me that they believe this only increases the energy level here and the intensity and the commitment to support the likes of Donald Trump, the former president and presumptive Republican nominee, who's expected on Monday to be formally nominated inside of this arena with the several thousand delegates on hand. Lester.
All right, thank you. So let's go to national security analyst.
I didn't pay him to agree with
the
me.
FBI has taken over the investigation. What does that mean in a practical sense?
Yeah, Lester, this is actually mandated by regulation. It's been written long ago, and the history of it is fascinating because it anticipates the unlikely event that maybe the Secret Service would cover up an incident or even be involved in it, God forbid. So we expected the FBI to come in and take this over. What it means is the full panoply of the FBI will be involved, from high-tech crime scene analysis, but more immediately, Lester, all of the social media and computer devices of this shooter, all the interviews of his coworkers, family, neighbors, all of that, his entire life history will be reconstructed rather rapidly, and the goal here will be to see, number one, was anyone else.
P-dubs, I've been looking and research. I got a whole nother computer out here giving me 3-minute updates, and there's none. They're all repeating the same stuff over and over again. I'm literally, right now, I've got something that literally updates every 3 minutes, and it's all the same every time. There's nothing new. I want you guys to realize.
Now they're blaming the Biden Secret Service.
No. His Secret Service. What happens when you have an idea of all of the governments against you? Everybody's false. Everything's against you. They're all against you. These people literally had to say, it's a good thing the Secret Service have the FBI to fall back on so that they can research it, because by tomorrow on 4chan, there will be 10 people saying, it's an inside job and the Secret Service did it. The government's trying to kill Trump. That's how that's how ridiculous they are. That's how ridiculous it is. Woo! All right, guys, I got a family to go to. There, the monkey business. I got a family to go to. There's no other media that's going to help you out there. Stay with us if you want. I'm going to keep this live thing. I'm going to get off my video, Laura, and I'll be back in a little bit. You can do the same, but I'm just going to leave this live for a little bit, if that's all right with you. Give me about 10, 15 minutes. I'll be back, all right?
That's cool. I'll be here. If anything changes, I'll make a sound, and I'll chime you in the DMs.
All right. All right, guys, I'll be back. Thank you so much for joining us.
Was there anything that could have been done to head this off or intervene? Did we look at his weapon, where it came from? Was it purchased legally or not? Was he trained as a sniper ever in any profession that he may have held? And of course, what was his motive? And I caution people, don't draw conclusions. We don't know where this shooter really was coming from mentally, and that's where the FBI will be going. One of the early things they need to rule out is terrorism. They need to rule out that this wasn't a part of an international terrorism plot. So lots of things on the FBI's plate in the upcoming days and weeks.
This is Merrick Garland has brought his team together. Is this truly a national security issue?
Keep you up to date if I can.
It clearly is. I mean, the world is watching here. They know we're all divided and polarized, and that we do tend to lean toward violence as a possible solution. This only makes things worse, not only internationally, but domestically. You've reported the RNC is starting on Monday. This is our iconic democratic process. The parties hold conventions. They pick their nominees. The question, can we do that securely and safely? And you will see changes come Monday in the planning around the RNC. So, for example, in the state of Wisconsin, you're not supposed to preclude anyone from carrying a weapon, even in the soft security zone, which is in place for the free speech and designated protest areas of the convention. I think those are going to get moved. There's also a parade route around the building for people who want to exercise free speech and assembly. That may be rethought. We're going to have to do things differently moving forward.
Another rally attendee says he saw the alleged shooter moving from roof to roof.
If, as reported, is true, why was this building the shooter was on outside the perimeter when it clearly was within a sniper's range? We've got to figure that out, too.
Are you fearful, or does law enforcement look at the possibility that something like this could inspire others who may have harbored similar thoughts?
250 yards away from where
Oh, absolutely. The copycat thing here, look, sadly, we've seen it over the last couple of years, haven't we, with people kind of taking on FBI buildings, and it doesn't end well for them, like Cincinnati, Ohio, or a man who tried to swing a weapon at FBI agents in Provo, Utah, who were arresting him. This kind of thing begets more violence and revenge. So if you're going to have protest areas in Milwaukee with presumably people who are anti-Trump, can you imagine people who think in their head the answer is to seek revenge for today's event, maybe against those who are protesting against Trump? This presents quite the challenge for next week.
And as this investigation unfolds, you reminded us not to glom on to what we think may be a motive in this case. But if there are connections, outlets, for example, for outside the United States, that would turn this into a much different animal.
It sure would. And look, the FBI Director Chris Wray, for example, has been telling Congress repeatedly now that there is strong indication of a potential for an international terror attack here. He used the language that it could look like the concert hall attack in Moscow recently by ISIS-K. Recently, the FBI arrested 8 men who migrated over the southern border from Tajikistan who are affiliated with ISIS-K. So, you know, that is an ongoing concern, and the FBI is going to work quickly to try and put that angle to rest.
And the digital trail, we've seen that emerge in similar things before. Will that be the tell-all, essentially?
Today, people just vent all of their motives and frustrations online, and my guess is this will be the case here. We'll know pretty quickly, even through family interviews as well as social media, where this individual was coming from in terms of mindset.
All right, we continue to get video from the aftermath. You see people who were wounded, perhaps, or somehow otherwise injured there being treated in the confusion, the aftermath of all this. There's still photos, including ones like this, that have certainly gone viral among many of Donald Trump's supporters after he has survived what is an apparent assassination attempt in Pennsylvania today at a rally. This is the shot, the iconic shot now of the former president being whisked away to the safety of his vehicle. We're coming up at the top of the hour. We're going to take a very brief pause for some of our stations to start their local coverage. For others, Hallie Jackson will pick up the coverage in just a moment.
For our viewers just joining us, we are on the air with breaking news on this NBC News special report. A shooting at Donald Trump's Pennsylvania campaign rally.
Man.
The former president has been hurt in an apparent assassination attempt. The Secret Service says the president is safe and that the shooter is dead. Tonight, Donald Trump is posting on Truth Social, his platform online, that he was hit with a bullet that he says pierced the upper part of his right ear.
Right, Pete.
He said he felt it ripping
immunity.
through his skin. We have a lot to get to, but I want to pause here. We're going to roll the video of what happened just after 6 p.m. here on the East Coast while Mr. Trump was speaking. I want you to listen closely also to the sound of the shots and what you hear in the moments right after that until Mr. Trump is rushed into his motorcade. Watch.
A little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
House Republican immediately accuses Biden of having sent the orders to ally Trump in bizarre post. That Mike Collins of Georgia blamed Biden, called for him to be prosecuted.
Let me get my shoes. Got you, sir. I got you, sir. Let me get my shoes, sir. Hold that in your head. It's bloody. So we got to move to the bus. Let me get my shoes.
Okay. Collins followed up with another tweet calling for the local county prosecutor to immediately file charges against Biden for inciting an assassination. Oh, boy. Collins has an extensive history of making outlandish and offensive comments, including tweeting that an undocumented migrant who was charged with assaulting an NYPD officer should be thrown from a helicopter. Agreeing with an anti-Semitic tweet from a neo-Nazi account, praising a video of the college student making racist gestures and taunts at a protester, and posting a crass joke about RFK Jr.'s brainworm and the assassinations that have killed multiple members of his family. So, yeah, okay. Collins.
You see that fist in the air from former President Trump as he is taken into his motorcade and then taken away. This is a map, the approximate area of the stage where Mr. Trump was shot and the location of the suspected gunman's body. Here's what we know right now, that suspected shooter fired a weapon from a roof outside the perimeter of the rally. So he was outside the Secret Service security area. The alleged gunman is dead. Also, a spectator who was attending the rally has been killed. Two other spectators were badly hurt. President Biden has spoken with Mr. Trump. He is returning right now to the White House from Delaware, where earlier this evening the president addressed the nation.
Well, I had to.
But the bottom line is, the Trump rally was a rally.
If you just give me 5 minutes, Laura, and then you can go take a break. But the thing is, I had to at least say this.
There's political violence or violence in America like this.
And I, while I was coming down here, I heard what you were talking about. Intelligencer. What was from the Intelligencer? This is the new phone. What was disappointing, if not surprising, was that it wasn't just random ex-users posting unfounded accusations. Though the shooter's identity and motives are all still unknown, several Republican elected officials were quick to blame the left and President Joe Biden specifically for the shooting that wounded Trump in the air. Because that's the great way to say it. Wounded him in the air. We still don't know what that was, all right? Killed at least one audience member and injured another. The unidentified gunman was killed by the Secret Service. Representative Mike Collins of Georgia actually accused Biden of ordering the attack. He cited a report that Biden used the phrase, "It's time to put Trump in the bullseye. It's time to put Trump in the bullseye," Mike Collins said. Then he said, there's another tweet from Mike Collins. Joe Biden sent the orders. Steve Guest, We're done talking about the debate. It's time to put Trump in a bullseye. That's why he said that those were the orders. There are a few more here if I can actually get this thing to work. Okay, my mouse. Hello. Yeah, so that's what Laura's talking about. I heard her talking about that as soon as I got this news, so she probably got the same thing. Okay, well, I'll let you watch this until I can get it back.
It's not appropriate. And everybody must condemn it. Everybody.
Former President Trump has put out a statement extending his condolences to the loved ones of the rally-goer who was killed and to the others who were hurt. He also thanked law enforcement and first responders for their quick action and says he looks forward to the Republican convention in Milwaukee that is set to begin on Monday. I want to bring in now NBC's Dasha Burns, who was at that rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. She was there when the shots were fired. Dasha, bring us up to speed as to where things stand now, what we know about the whereabouts of the former president, and what happens from here.
Hallie, Joe, vote for Trump because this country got to get back in line. This is out of control.
How did you get out ultimately? How did you get here to safety?
Once they evacuated us, because of right where we were sitting, we were able to just keep on going. We actually watched snipers and everybody over on the side for a few minutes, but we just got out of there. We were scared.
What did you see from your vantage point of the snipers? These were the people protecting the former president.
That's correct. And now they were over in the lawn. They were watching every single person with their guns going by. I believe the one injured person was over there that they had. Wasn't he on the one on the ground?
Yeah, so before they evacuated, they carried the 2 injured people out. Then they yelled for us to get evacuated. At that point, all the Secret Service were up in our section with the guns, and they were all in the field. Because like I said, rumor was he climbed up the back of our bleacher.
Hallie, I also spoke to a gentleman.
All right, it looks like the other computer is restarting, is why I didn't come back. So I'll be back in a minute, and I'll let you know what the breaking news is, if there is any. There's a few more lawmakers that said that
the venue describing
Biden ordered it.
That harrowing scene to us.
So I'll let you know exactly what they said. I'll give you the quotes so that you're not just hearing it from me and not just hearing a talking head say it. I'll be back.
I love what Mac says. Biden was on that roof with an AR rifle, and when the SS started shooting, he threw a Mexican in front of him and jumped off the roof. Yes, super Biden.
The future of this election. Come on. The president has posted on Truth Social that he's okay. He's been injured in his right ear. He did send condolences to the family of the person who was injured fatally. This is something that, of course, President Biden has spoken about as well. The two of them have spoken, and now we're just 48 hours from the Republican National Convention, a massive event,
maybe poor choice of words.
Where security was already a concern, and now it remains to be seen just what this means
Orange
for
Man in the bullseye. But I mean, the Orange Man literally,
certainly,
or one of his minions, put
Dasha Burns,
rifle sightings
live for
on.
us there.
Who
Dasha,
was
thank
it?
you so
Pelosi?
much. I want to go to our investigative correspondent, Tom Winter, who's with us. And Tom, you've got some new details on how this shooting took place. What can you tell us?
I can, Hallie, but first I think we should get to some additional information that myself and my colleagues have been learning, and including our colleagues Jonathan Deans and Dan DeLuce. The individual who is believed to have tried to shoot former President Trump is somebody who is not a foreign national. There's no nexus here, we've been told, to any sort of foreign national or foreign country. Separately, it's possible this person could be from the
I can
general western part of
hear what's
Pennsylvania.
going on
And we're
my
in the process
laptop and
of hunting
talk
that down now.
sensibly.
And obviously we'll continue to report and get as much detail as possible. As far as the location of where this alleged shooter was.
Oh,
we just
and
saw
what
the
a
video, and it's
wonderful way
incredible
of wording
video
it. I
of the
hate
former
this
president
universe's
being
timeline
taken from
right
the
now.
stage. And you can see here now on the map, you call it 148 yards,
that right.
150, 130, but generally put, these are the two locations where these individuals were located. That's a manufacturing company on the left-hand side of
really?
your screen,
Mac
and a roof
says
that
the
belongs to that, at least
pipe bomber living in
according
his
to a
van in
Google
Florida
search.
had the
We
sticker
haven't been
with
able to
Hillary
reach
and
that particular
crosshairs on
firm
the van.
yet to confirm the details of
Was
that.
this
And then you can
recent?
see where the stage
When
was
was
set up
that?
today for the rally. Now, the Secret Service's perimeter is, of course, and you know this very well, Hallie, from your time on covering so many various campaigns, you can't bring in a weapon. You're going to be searched. There's magnetometers. There's people to check you. But it appears that this was outside, and we are told from the Secret Service this was outside of their area where they would have checked people. Now, there is video of snipers on a roof who appear to notice or fire at this individual, and we're in the process of confirming some of the details of that video before we show it to you, just to make sure. But if that video is accurate, it does show the counter sniper team. So these are Secret Service agents or part of federal law enforcement that are, their job is to try to look for somebody like this, identify them, and if need be, take that individual out. And it appears that that was part of what happened here today. But you can see how close this was to the stage, and you can see how all this happened. We had video moments ago, or earlier, I should say, that showed this rooftop. Here it is. The blurred object there is the body of the alleged shooter, who's believed to be there. It is a man. We've reported that previously, and the individual appears to be wearing some sort of a tan camouflage pant, Hallie, but it's difficult to make out a lot of details about them from what we've seen. So that's kind of the latest on this investigation, which is moving quickly. As we've reported, the FBI director has personally briefed the President of the United States, Joe Biden, and he's also talked to the National Security Council and the National Security Advisor about this investigation and plans to continue those updates, obviously, over the course of the next several hours and days.
So much.
Tom Winter, thank you. I know you're staying close to your phone and close to a camera. I appreciate that. I want to share some developing news now coming into us from the governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, who says right now that former President Trump has now left the Butler area. This is in a statement posted online on X, formerly known as
if
Twitter,
anyone read
saying
Carol
that he and his wife are
Langsford on the
thankful
Secret
that Mr. Trump's
Service.
team
They're not
reports
quite
that
the
he is
elite
fine,
team
and we
they
continue
try to
to wish him
portray.
a full and
that
speedy
doesn't
recovery.
surprise me. I have not
The
read the
Pennsylvania
book,
governor
but
goes on
I
to
love
say that
Carol.
federal
And
law enforcement officials will continue to lead, of course, on the investigation into the
I'll look into that. What's the
attempted
name
shooting
of the
former
book?
President Trump, this shooting, and Pennsylvania State Police will lead the investigation into the shooting of the other victims here in Butler, Pennsylvania. Obviously, the governor's indication that Mr. Trump has left the Butler area suggests that perhaps Mr. Trump is now on his way back to one of his homes. We've been talking here tonight to some folks who attended that rally today. I want to bring in one of them. John David Longo is the mayor of Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania. Mr. Mayor, thank you for being with us.
I'm here.
Mr. Mayor, if you can hear me okay, can you tell us what you heard and what you saw at that rally?
Ma'am, can you hear me all right?
Sure can, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to try one more time. Can you tell us what you saw at the rally, if you can hear me?
Of course. Thank you very much. Where to start? You know, the day started very early in the day. Everybody was full of smiles and elated to be there in support of President Trump. Lots of folks were reminiscing about his visit to us in Butler County in Halloween of 2020, and all of us were expecting that we were going to be able to enjoy another joyous occasion. You know, I had the pleasure of participating in the rally, and I even had the pleasure of chatting with the president 15, 20 minutes before this awful thing happened. And it was just such a sad thing to see. And I'm so sorry for the family and friends of the individual whose life was stolen from him because of this maniac's violence.
One of the things we talked about earlier, Mr. Mayor, this is an area of Pennsylvania that is, so to speak, Trump country. The people who had attended, based on the reporting that we've done, were excited to be there. They were excited to hear from the former president on the eve of the Republican convention in Milwaukee, a key moment for his campaign and for his candidacy here. Can you share any insights into how your community is doing tonight?
My community's thoughts and prayers, first and foremost, are with the friends and family of the individual whose life was taken from him today. We are with him. We're grieving with that family, first and foremost. And second, we are in deep blood red Trump country here in northern Butler County in the Slippery Rock area, and our thoughts are with the president. But I got to tell you, man. I saw a lot of ugly today, but I saw a lot of good today. I saw a lot of good come out of people on the ground during this time when folks were scared. People took the initiative and they stood up and they helped one another. And that is representative of everything that Butler County conservatives stand up for and believe in.
One of the images that we're seeing as you're speaking here, Mr. Mayor, is the former president delivering a couple of fist pumps, essentially, to the crowd after it was clear that he had been hurt. You could see blood on his face, and he was being rushed off stage by Secret Service. As you were watching that, what went through your mind in that moment?
Yeah, well, my vantage point was incredible because I was sitting just to stage left, first row. I was just, 20 feet from the president, so I got to see all of that unfold as I was scanning around. And at first, I felt relief. Of course, I thought, thank God, President Trump is up and standing. And second, I thought, thank goodness that this wasn't even worse. I mean, the potential for this to be even worse than it was, as awful as it is, was just humongous. So it was a bit of relief, but also too, it was harrowing. I was very scared for the future, and I thought, my goodness, what is it that we've gotten ourselves into, and what's next here?
Before I let you go, have you had any contact with any members of the Trump campaign since this happened? Had they reached out at all?
I haven't spoken with anybody officially on the ground level of the Trump campaign, but I will say that I've heard from plenty of people who are close to the campaign, plenty of Butler County Republican leaders here in the area, and once more, all of us are just thinking and praying for the family of the individual whose life was lost, and our thoughts and prayers, of course, with the president and with the entire nation right now.
A very difficult evening. John David Longo, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for being with us here on this NBC News special report tonight. I appreciate it. I want to turn now to Garrett Haake, who covers former President Trump, who has been part of our coverage tonight. And Garrett, some new perhaps clues as to the former president's location, or at least the location that he has apparently departed, according to Governor Shapiro here. Talk us through it.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we know right now where the former president is not, and that's in the Butler area where this rally was held. But beyond that, we don't have a lot more specific information about his location. And I suppose that's probably to be anticipated after an assassination attempt, as we now know that this is. But what we have right now is a situation where the Trump campaign is in something of a communications lockdown. They're not speaking with press. They're not speaking publicly, really at all, beyond that message from the former president on his social media platform and a fundraising blast that just went out with no particular details, but it says only a message from President Trump, I will never surrender.
Not
for all we know, that could have been a planned thing for at the end of this rally tonight. Regardless. So what we're in right now, the uncharted territory in which we've found ourselves so familiar this campaign season, with the former president out of the hospital, as far as we know, out of the Butler area, but not yet returned to his New Jersey golf club where we expected him to spend the night tonight, nor headed to Milwaukee, where we do still expect him to appear on Monday, according to the convention organizers and the Trump campaign, who said in a statement earlier this evening, essentially, that the show must go on. But Hallie, how different will that show be? How much will this moment, this attempted assassination of a presidential candidate, change the tenor, the direction, the issue set of this campaign? It's impossible to know right now, but I can tell you that the former president's allies on Capitol Hill are already moving very quickly to keep this incident in the spotlight. They've announced investigations that will come in the House, the Speaker putting out a statement to that effect, the chair of the Oversight Committee, which seems keen to claim jurisdiction here, inviting the head of the Secret Service to come and testify a week from Monday. So imagine all week next week you'll have the Republican convention. Then the following Monday you could very well see the head of the Secret Service answering questions about this in front of lawmakers on the Hill.
It could
That's
get
just
infected.
Chamber.
It's
I
pretty
think we'll
close
also
to
see
the brain,
the Senate
but
dive into this issue too to
otherwise
see
he's
what
fine.
possible failures there could have been here by the Secret Service, what other steps could have been taken to prevent this incident tonight from coming as close as it appears to have of taking the life of a soon-to-be presidential nominee of a major party.
Garrett Haake, thank you. I want to turn now to our senior White House correspondent, Kelly O'Donnell. And Kelly, we know that former President Trump has spoken with President Biden tonight, based on what the White House is telling us, as the president himself, and I think we have a live look at his plane, is getting ready to change his plans. He's heading back to Washington earlier than expected, Kelly.
That's right. He had been in Rehoboth, Delaware, will be departing here shortly to come back to Washington. And the president will be able to, by virtue of being back, have additional briefings here in person tomorrow. Of course, the powers of the presidency go wherever he goes, and he was receiving briefings at his home in Delaware, but made a decision that he wanted to come back to the White House tonight. We expect him to return to Washington after midnight, sometime around 12:30 or so, based on the schedule as we understand it. You pointed out that he placed a call to former President Trump. They were able to connect after trying earlier, shortly after the incident, in the immediate aftermath of that. President Biden tried to reach him, was unable to do so. They spent a little more time. They were able to connect and have a personal connection. You heard the president earlier tonight speaking publicly, talking about the fact that there can be no political violence tolerated.
Oh boy,
and that
the Daily Mail has dramatic new video of
former
his,
President Trump should have been able to
the
carry
moment
out
the
this
Secret
rally
Service agents
without
fired
any
at the
threat,
gunman.
and that
When Bruce
should
gets
not
back,
have
I'll
happened.
have him upload it.
President Biden trying to get additional information. We now know he has been briefed by an array of top government officials who will be responsible for various aspects of this investigation. Now, of course, there is a political environment here, and these two men are not only predecessor and successor, and both who have been commander-in-chief and in the Oval Office. They are, of course, running against each other in this heated political environment. The Biden campaign is telling its own staff and members to hold off from any commentary on what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania today, to not talk about this, to try to turn down any of the political rhetoric, and to have a pause. We have seen this in the political landscape at different times when there are sad or unexpected events of a variety of types, that campaigns will have a moment of pause. Everything from deaths in the family to hurricanes to other kinds of issues that command people's immediate attention. This is highly, highly rare and is very upsetting, and there are many questions to be answered and pursued in terms of the investigation. So turning down some of the rhetoric, turning down some of the political engagement that would typically happen. Now, what we don't know is how the president's schedule will be affected beyond tonight and tomorrow. He, of course, had a planned schedule that included some appearances publicly before and around the Republican National Convention, which is set to begin in Milwaukee. Sometimes candidates sit out their opponents' convention, but in the last couple of cycles, we've seen more intense and robust engagement, regardless of the other calendar and the other campaign's biggest event, the convention itself, the nominating
We have
convention.
senses of humor.
Many
We make
questions to
dark
find
jokes
out
when
in the
in
next day or
times
two
of
about what the
crisis.
schedules will be.
It's not
What
funny
we
at
do know
all.
is
We
the
hate
president will
that
get
this
more
happened.
briefings tomorrow. He's heard from the FBI director, the head of the Secret Service, his top Homeland Security officials, both at the cabinet level and the internal White House advisor, and all of those expected experts in various fields interacting here. So there's a political component, there's an investigative one, and there is certainly just sort of the tone of the nation right now, where the president wants things to be about not accepting any kind of violence like this as he tries to get more answers. Kelly?
Oh, dear.
Kelly O'Donnell standing by for us tonight at the White House. Kel, thank you. I want to bring in now Evie Pompouris, a former Secret Service agent.
This
Evie,
woman
with your
being carried
expertise,
out,
can
I'm
you
not
help us
sure,
understand what's
but
happening now
that might have been
inside that
from
agency,
earlier.
inside
There
the
was
investigation,
earlier
with the
someone,
priority,
one or
presumably,
two
of
people
course,
were carried
making
out
sure that the
from
former president gets
heat
to where he needs to go
exhaustion,
today.
heat stroke.
So the first thing is, if we're looking at the investigative
or dehydration
part,
or whatever.
FBI is the entity, the agency
So it
now
was
that's
off
going
to
to
a
come in
bad
and
start.
investigate what has happened. Now, this is done by design to keep the Secret Service out of the investigation, because if there is a security issue, a security flaw, a mistake, they don't want the Secret Service obviously investigating themselves. So the FBI comes in, and we received the reports. They came in immediately. They came to the site, secure it. They're starting to interview people. They're assessing who did what happened, and they're going to follow that investigation. As far as the suspect goes, or the individual that we believe took the shots, they're going to interview family members, friends, employers, employees, if he's a business owner, any mental health history. Were there any signs that this individual made threats in the past? So you're going to see a purge of social media accounts online. It's going to be subpoena after subpoena after subpoena to get as much information as possible to understand the why. Now, the bigger thing really is for something like this, and the priority is this a network of people? Obviously, you know, since the last assassination attempt we had, that was Ronald Reagan. And after that, we had 9/11. So it's different. Typically, historically, it's always been the lone wolf, the jackal, they would call it, who's going to come in to do something like this. But after 9/11, we see a different threat of terrorism. So the one thing the FBI is really going to focus on, is there a network of people? Is this a terrorist attack? It does not seem that it is that. Again, there's nothing's been confirmed, but it appears that it does not seem to be that. And it's starting to lead itself to that lone individual, that person. Now, as far as the Secret Service, I mean, there's reports already coming out that the director, Kimberly Cheadle, will be testifying before Congress, and they're going to ask her what happened. Now, when we look at that aerial shot that you guys have been pulling up, right, that aerial shot, we have the hardened perimeter, which is the perimeter that the Secret Service secures. Okay, so what does that mean?
Minister Anthony Albanese,
perimeter basically that is blocked off, where you have the magnetometers there, where you have the hardcore element. So anybody that comes into that area is typically screened. Beforehand, it's actually cleared out. Dogs come through, military personnel, they check for bombs or any explosives, and then you power it up with manpower, poststanders, police, military, special agents. They lock it down. Then you control who comes in. You keep the area clean. So people going through magnetometer checkpoints. So that's the hardened security perimeter. Now, what we're hearing is this individual who took the shot was outside that perimeter. Now, just because they're outside that perimeter, it does not mean that you don't secure that. You do have a secure element out that way. So one of the things, or there's multiple things you do, you have local police patrolling the area, right? You can have post standards or USSS personnel perhaps also patrolling the area with local police. Now, the counter sniper entities, and what we're hearing through reports is there are 2 snipers on a rooftop in an adjacent building. Now, what they do is they want a high position.
I just want to stop you there, as we are just looking here at President Biden and his team. That's not the president, of course, that's his motorcade pulling up to Air Force One. He is departing. You see him going up the steps of Air Force One now, the back of the president, heading back to the White House.
Oh my God!
Former President Trump at
classic media. Hey, we want to stop you from your good
Boards
information so we can see the back of the president
Delaware.
walking onto the plane.
To
We got to stop you there, Ari.
Turning around.
Classic.
And giving a salute as he walks in to the plane. We are expecting a press conference in just about 15 minutes from now. We're coming up on the bottom of the hour. We will take a very brief couple-second pause for more stations to join us right now.
Classic. Classic.
I'd like to welcome you back to this NBC News special report. I'm Hallie Jackson. We are on the air with breaking news. Earlier tonight, a shooting at Donald Trump's Pennsylvania campaign rally. The former president was injured in an assassination attempt. The Secret Service says the president is safe, that the suspected shooter is dead. We know that we have heard from Donald Trump, the former president, on his Truth Social online platform, posting he was hit with the bullet, that he says pierced the upper part of his right ear. He said he felt it ripping through his skin. Here's what we know right now. The alleged gunman fired a weapon from a roof outside the perimeter of the rally. So he was outside that typical Secret Service security area. The alleged gunman is dead, as is a spectator who was attending the rally. That person has been killed. 2 others were badly hurt. President Biden, you just saw him boarding Air Force One moments ago. He is headed back to Washington now. He says he has spoken. The White House says that he has spoken with Mr. Trump. Earlier this evening, you had President Biden addressing the nation, condemning the violence. Former President Trump, in his statement, extended condolences to the loved ones of the spectator, the rally-goer who was killed, and the others who were hurt. He also thanked law enforcement and first responders for their quick action. His campaign has also suggested he will be at the Milwaukee convention, the Republican convention, set to begin not long from now. I want to let folks know that in just about 15 minutes, we are expecting a news conference in Butler, Pennsylvania, and this may be where we get some answers to some of the key questions tonight. We expect federal law enforcement as well as local law law enforcement to be there, presumably with a critical update on the investigation. We will bring that to you live the second that it happens. Before it does, I want to get to our colleague Kelly O'Donnell, our senior White House correspondent, who is at the White House. And Kelly, we saw President Biden boarding his plane. He is headed back here.
That is a change in his schedule, one brought out by these events where the president made a decision. We were told by sources familiar that he was at Mass earlier today when he learned of the incident involving the former president, made a decision that he wanted to speak publicly in the earliest point after he got some initial briefings, did that earlier tonight. Then as he gained more information, made the decision that he wants to leave Delaware to come back to the White House tonight. We expect he will get here sometime after midnight, likely around the 12:30 a.m. time, and that tomorrow it is expected he will have additional briefings with key law enforcement personnel from the Secret Service, the FBI, Homeland Security, and so forth. All the different threads of information that could
I'm back,
give a
people.
better
I know you're waiting to see my
what
face.
happened, who was
I'm
involved,
typing
and what
and all of the other
motivations
good
may
stuff,
have been
but
part of
I
this.
did
He
have
did have
my
that personal connection with former
regular
President Trump by
3-minute
phone tonight
update up
after trying
before
to
I
reach
left.
him
I'm trying to
earlier
get it back
at a time when we
to make
could
sure
presume
that I
that
have
the former president was probably getting some medical care
proper
or
news
just
and not
getting
hearsay
through the
for you.
initial experience of this apparent assassination attempt and all of the turmoil associated with that. So they have now spoken and connected personally. We know additionally that the Biden campaign is saying to its own team, turn down the rhetoric, do not comment about this issue, put it on pause right now, and that the focus needs to be on bringing about calm, having some unity in the country, that we as a nation stand against political violence. Even though political violence has reared its head many times in our history, that now is a time with a heated campaign to try to turn down the rhetoric. So this could be a point where we could see some other changes in schedule. We simply don't know yet. These are fast-moving events. We're tracking each of these developments, and as we learn more, we'll bring it to you. Hallie?
Kelly O'Donnell live for us there from the White House. Kelly, thank you very much. I want to bring in Pennsylvania Congressman Dan Muser, who was at today's rally. He is joining us now. Congressman, thank you very much for your time tonight. I know it's late, and I know it's been a difficult day.
Yeah, well, good to be with you. Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about what happened, what you saw happen, what you saw and heard there today in Butler?
Sure. It started as a typical rally. We had some pre-rally speeches, myself, Senate candidate Dave McCormick, Mike Kelly, my colleague in the House. The president arrived. We did our standard pictures.
If you guys want to see a separate station other than this, just press 1 in the comment section.
6 or 7 minutes when we heard rapid gunfire. The first couple of shots, I don't think any of us knew exactly what was going on. Yeah. But I guess it was maybe the fourth shot was when it hit the president. And when he put his hand up to his head and hit the deck, boy, everybody in the place knew what was going on. They knew we were under fire. So the Secret Service did its job. Our Pennsylvania state troopers were also highly engaged. There was a lot of security there. And then, very, very sadly, an individual that was sitting just right behind me, a few rows, was also hit, and that was a bad scene. And my understanding is that individual was a fatality, that he was killed. So it was chaotic. It was a shame, and we're lucky that the president, former President Trump, by a quarter of an inch. Avoided
Anybody else pressing 1? If you want to change, go to a
Congressman,
different
just an
station,
incredibly
press
traumatic
1.
evening. I'm going to ask for your patience. I want to pause this conversation for just a second because my colleague, our investigative correspondent, Tom Winter, is joining us with some breaking news on new details about the suspect. Tom, what's going on?
That's right, Hallie. Alongside our colleagues Kelly O'Donnell and Jonathan Dienst,
all right, we'll
investigators
change after new
have
details about the
tentatively
suspect.
identified the man who shot at former President Donald Trump today in Pennsylvania. He is a male described as approximately 20 years old and from Pennsylvania, according to 5 senior law enforcement officials briefed on the matter. So they have a tentative ID. They're still running things down from a law enforcement perspective, and that's the reason why they have not publicly announced the name, and we are not publicly announcing it either at this juncture. But again, the news is that federal investigators do have a tentative identification.
That's not news about the suspect, you liars. Yeah, you're getting changed just for that. Just for doing that to my audience. I'm sorry, guys. You're 100% correct. Wow, they got me, boy. I tell you what. I feel like I want to go to Fox. I want to see what they're saying. They called him a hero before. Like, it was pretty crazy.
We'll have live coverage right here on CNN. Caitlin Collins
But
has some new
we'll start with
reporting,
CNN.
and she's joining us right now with Abby Phillip. Caitlin?
Yeah, Wolf, obviously,
Poor Wolf Blitzer losing his voice. It's getting late, bud. It's
surrounded
getting
Donald
late.
Trump immediately as these shots were going off were his Secret Service agents. They accompany him everywhere he goes.
It's getting late out
whether it's
here.
a political event or to his private clubs. They are always there. They have been since November of 2015 when he was a candidate and he first got Secret Service protection.
Getting late on the West Coast, people.
As Abby referenced earlier, not
on the
all,
East Coast.
Not all candidates get Secret Service protection, but the ones who warrant it certainly do. And there's a threshold for that. And former presidents do as well. And of course, he is a candidate now, so he enjoys it. And there's been this thing kind of populating online tonight as we are watching this, where there's a rumor of people claiming that Trump has been denied requests to amplify his Secret Service. I am actually told that is not true. I am told by a source familiar that Donald Trump's Secret Service protection was recently strengthened, actually, which speaks to.
But you know what it is when you come into the comment section, man. I think you like the argument too.
He is set to
you like the fight.
become the presumptive Republican nominee, and then, of course, as we head into the next 4 months until November, of what that looks like. But it does speak to what we are seeing tonight.
Yeah, it was bad, P-Dubs.
Come out of this, which
on
is
Fox
the
News,
Secret
they was
Service
like
and the protection here, and
the
the fact
strength
that
and
this
the
person was
courage
able to scale
of
a roof
Trump
within the vicinity of the former president of the United States and fire these
it
shots.
was the most.
Luckily, he is okay and safe. But obviously, that is something not to be taken for granted.
Well, already, I mean, there are those who believe the federal government has been weaponized against him, that the FBI, was going to try to kill him at the search at Mar-a-Lago. This certainly feeds into those who believe that sort of thing.
Well, and we're seeing rhetoric like that tonight from people like Senator J.D.
Got my other
Vance,
computer
who's
up here,
talking
guys.
about
It's
the
almost
efforts
done.
to go after
See?
Donald Trump
I
pretty
got my
quickly
3-minute,
after all of this happened. I expect we'll see that
3-minute
to
updates
continue in the
coming in.
coming
We'll see
days.
if anything
But for
changed.
Trump and his Secret Service, I do want to be clear. He loves his Secret Service agents. Every president, I think, obviously has concerns for their safety, rightfully so, as we are watching play out tonight. But Donald Trump has always had a good relationship with his Secret Service.
The man in the glasses there is the one who was sitting right behind him during the trial in New York, I recall.
Yeah, and they're always with him. I mean, and often, and this was the same case when President Biden returned to the White House, they have similar agents. Obviously, there's a big coterie of agents that travel with him anywhere. If you're a reporter and you're out on the South Lawn with the president when he's exiting the Oval Office, there's two standing right in front of you, there's two behind you, there's two over there, and that's when you're on the White House premise. There's also snipers, the counter snipers on the roof to look out as well. I mean, obviously, any reporter or photographer, anyone who's ever been around a president sees the Secret Service immediately. But it is notable tonight, this new reporting, that Donald Trump's Secret Service protection was recently strengthened because it speaks to one, conspiracies that are already circulating online, which should be ignored and obviously corrected, but two, the nature of the gravity of this campaign and how it's playing out, the fact that he does have more agents actually around him right now.
And Trump, it's based on the threat level. So Trump has always had a high level of threats around him.
I think John Owen was the first one who told us about the teleprompter,
the protection of Secret Service, especially as he's about to be officially the nominee, is going to increase. And this idea that suddenly it would be peeled back arbitrarily is just not how.
I'm still waiting on
the Secret Service. They take their job seriously. Trump is both a candidate and a former president, which affords him Secret Service protection in both
so
cases.
It takes an hour to
and
upload.
As Caitlin was saying, I mean, these are people that he
restart
knows.
itself.
A lot of times,
once it restarts, I'll be having all of my
3-minute
updates again. It's coming soon, guys. We'll see anything new.
The people who are the closest physically to the president are people that he needs to trust and that he needs to know on a very deeply personal level, because they are so close to him at all moments of his life. And so, watching this play out is what you're seeing on the screen.
I wish I could turn on my VPN. The problem with VPN is it might mess up our stream. But if I could turn on my VPN, I'll show you guys what I actually do.
Anderson,
I go to news from everywhere else on the world. I get live news from Israel,
all of these people
Iran,
are at risk in that moment. And they responded to him at that time. And I think that that's going to go down as one of those iconic moments in American history when we look back on this. I don't think we've really seen anything quite like that.
I mean, it shows you his skill and his knowledge of and his almost instinct. I mean, it is instinctive understanding of the importance of images and moments. And he did not want that image of him being hustled out to be the image. He wanted it to be, taking a moment to,
unfortunately, that's true.
Say, fight,
the
fight,
one
fight.
thing he's really
Trump
good at is the marketing
and
the
regardless
pictures.
if you like him or do not like him, that
It's as fake
understands
as
his
hair
supporters and
and
his
his
base
tan.
better than anyone. And to take that moment, I mean, Trump is probably his truest self when he's on stage at these
But I
crowds and
digress.
he's interacting with his supporters and feeding off of them, and he will test lines out on them and see what's popular, what's not. We're in the middle of the vice presidential pick that he's expected to make it in the next 48 hours or so, and he'll often listen when people come out on stage. Did they get a big round of applause? How did they resonate with his supporters? And so, I mean, to see that moment, it is very Donald Trump in that moment to first, before exiting the stage, look around and mouth a word of support to his supporters.
I have been stunned, though, by watching that crowd, the way that they reacted to those gunshots ringing out, to the president being whisked off stage. People had been shot. Someone was shot it's based on these eyewitnesses, in the head, in the middle of that crowd. And people, some of them cowered, but many of them stood there relatively calmly. It's really extraordinary just to watch what played out this afternoon, just a few hours ago.
Wolf, let's go back to you.
And the ones who
And we're
stuck
waiting
up
to
their
hear
middle
directly
finger
from officials in
at
Butler,
the
Pennsylvania, where this rally was taking place. We'll be hearing from Pennsylvania State Police, Butler Township Police Department, the FBI, and the Secret Service. And we're expecting it to begin less than 5 minutes or so from now. In the meantime, I want to talk to Jonathan Wackrow and Evan Perez about what to expect next in this
I'm going to let you know as soon as
Jonathan, you're a former
my
Secret
other
Service
computer
agent. What do you expect?
It's finished restarting. It's taking
listen,
forever, but it's
there's
almost
a
done.
lot of questions that need to be answered, specifically around, why was there a line of sight vulnerability?
Yeah, it's supposed to be a press conference in
individual,
15 minutes.
Get
Gloria
up
is
onto an
correct.
elevated building without being identified by law enforcement on the outer perimeter. So the investigation is going to start answering some of those questions, but we really need to get answers quickly because there may need to be protocols changed at the Secret Service, especially as we're entering in this heightened campaign season where there are anticipated multiple outdoor events that will be held
to be held
RNC
accountable
and then
for this.
leading up into the DNC and all the way through
You aren't checking all the rooftops
election day. So right now,
in
it is
2024?
important to understand how this threat materialized and what type of mitigation needs to be put into place to ensure that this doesn't happen again. I mean, we came millimeters away from losing former President Trump to an assassination. That cannot happen ever again. Oftentimes you've heard me say that protocols in the Secret Service are born out of blood. This could be one of those seminal moments for the Secret Service where they need to look at how do they actually address long distance threats. I mean, once the threat was identified, it was neutralized quickly. However, we don't ever want to get to that point again. We want to ensure that these sites, maintain that 360 degrees of coverage within the secure perimeter. And now there's a lot of questions exterior to that secure perimeter, that long distance threat that may need to be addressed. Wolf.
We have to learn everything about what happened to make sure it never happens again. Good point.
Yeah,
Indeed.
yeah.
Evan Perez,
They have
expecting
to
this
learn
briefing to
everything
begin
that happened,
momentarily.
Wolf, not we.
Local law
Yeah, I see your
enforcement,
gummies
Pennsylvania
there.
State Police, the FBI,
Laura,
the Secret Service.
you should have had those long time
and
ago.
we presumably will be
Oh, I
learning
did.
more
I did.
details
Oh,
about
okay,
what's
good,
going
good.
on right
Just
now.
to re-up.
The American
My-
public,
my
indeed the world,
evening
has a right
top-up.
to know what's going on.
That's right, Wolf. One of the things that I think is moving, perhaps, giving law enforcement to move a little bit more cautiously, is that they do have some basic law enforcement work to do to verify the identity of this suspected shooter.
Yeah,
now,
Gloria,
they have a good idea, as John Miller reported earlier.
Yeah,
they have
Darla.
a very good idea of who it is. but the person was not carrying identification at the scene, and so that has added some more additional work.
Absolutely
and so one of the first things that
unacceptable.
happens is
Absolutely
the
unacceptable.
FBI
Like,
working with the U.S. Attorney's Office there.
it's
in
not
Pittsburgh,
even like it's a high roof.
to make sure that they can do searches, gather evidence.
If that's
verify,
what we're doing
what
now,
they
and
have
I
on
understand,
this
I
person,
understand why.
and
Let me
also
tell
just
you
to
guys
try to
something,
start
and
building
don't get
a
it the
case
wrong way.
about,
If this was
the
Barack
motivation,
Obama,
where this
that would
person
never have
was,
happened.
where they acquired the firearm,
You know why?
How long
Because
had
of
they
the
been working
amount
on
of
this,
death
and whether
threats
they
he
left
got.
behind any kind of
I
record,
guarantee
anything
you
that
there
might
would have been
explain
twice the
exactly
amount
what
of
happened
search
here. Those are the things
and
that
looking.
you're gonna have
There would
hundreds
probably be twice
of
the amount of
FBI
Secret
agents, some of them
Service there in
coming
law
from,
enforcement
Quantico,
just to make sure,
here
because
in
they were
Virginia.
so
They're
vigilant.
on their way to
But I don't
the
want it to
Pittsburgh
ever be
area
said
where
that
where this rally happened.
they're not
north of
just
Pittsburgh.
as vigilant
That's
for
where they're
everybody
going.
else.
And so some of the police
Like,
work is now underway.
I understand that. I understand that. He got more death threats than any president in history.
I believe in the next hour or next few
But
minutes.
we can't afford to have Trump get killed either. You gotta check the rooftops, guy. Like, there's got to be. Look how fast all of the. This isn't just regular secrets. So these guys are pointing guns at the crowd that you see in front of you. These guys are special forces. They've got a couple people from maybe the National Guard, or maybe some people from Fort Bragg, some infantry folks that got a different detail. I don't know, but
former President Trump's Secret Service protection.
I guarantee you in 2024, you've got to be checking the rooftops and anywhere between maybe half a mile, anywhere that has the sight distance of a sniper rifle. I would think, but anyway.
There was a quote from the DA, old something, that said, looks like they got kind of lackadaisical. They thought this had happened to some other president or candidate or ex-president. And they just didn't believe it would happen to them,
That's it. That's it. That's why I said, it wouldn't have happened to Barack. Not because they're biased or they like whatever it is. The reason why is because they were on heightened alert.
Yes, I actually have heard.
They're on heightened alert, right? Like, they knew that there was something about the amount of people that they caught. The amount of people that they caught, you will never know who tried to assassinate Biden. Barack Obama, right? You will never know. You'll just never know. It's not their job to tell you. And you'll never know. But the heightened alert, in the lieu of all of the other threats, in the lieu of this exceedingly divided nation, should have been here too. It should have been everywhere. It's got to be on Biden. Now, you're going to put a little bit extra on Biden because now you're expecting that there's going to be retaliation. But there should have been before this.
What it is in
right?
response to is rising public, public persona. That the political activity. Or the political activity.
I'm just saying. I'm thinking out loud.
Are required to again build out that comprehensive security.
Every time Biden's gone out there in public, it's gone through my mind. Something could have happened. So
okay. So let's be honest. I forgot. I'm being hyperbolic. Trump is not the actual president. He has a Secret Service detail. Biden is the actual president. So yes, Darla, the drones are on him. When we're talking about drones, Air Force One, Air Force Two, as well as a perimeter of about 2 miles of Secret Service and what do we call them? Special forces are around. You're 100% right, Darla. For the president, that's what you have.
The Secret Service structure and how.
So I don't think that there's any even chance of lackadaisicalness there. I hope not. I hope not. Let me just say that. But for Donald Trump,
we expect him to do that in the next day or two or so.
There should have been more in the lieu of where the country is, what we've been dealing with. After January 6th, there should never, ever, ever have been
vice
anything like this happening. Because every single law enforcement officer, as well as general and lieutenant and people who make the decisions about this stuff, should be on absolute high alert. Because they saw that it's not what they thought it was.
The upcoming briefing in Butler,
right?
Pennsylvania.
Am I right or wrong? I mean,
the briefers will be speaking to reporters
after January 6, 2021.
We've just received a statement.
There should
from
be
the
no
Pennsylvania
more
governor,
mistakes.
Governor Josh Shapiro.
Oh, I didn't know.
Of it right now.
Oh, it's no big deal. It's Trump. They're not going to do that to him.
With the assistance of the Pennsylvania State Police, former President Trump has now left.
I was just telling my wife that I remember in the hearing, the January 6th hearing,
and we continue to wish him a full and speedy recovery.
McEnany, was it her McEnany that said, well,
recovery right now.
Trump told the people to stop worrying about.
Yeah, I'm just texting and you know.
To stop worrying about the metal detectors because they're not there for him. He believes that, and he was probably right.
Shock,
but it's not the same anymore. Like the whole country has gone mad.
About how this happened, we've been talking a lot about it, but from the
but they probably, you're 100% right. They're Laura, they're probably
about 500 feet,
realizing that, or they probably thought that it's Trump.
How that happened?
There's no. All the FBI reports show that the only real people who do this type of stuff, 90% of them are, wait a minute, are the right-wing terrorists. This can't happen to him.
Well, didn't he say it himself at the January 6th rally? Take down the fucking mags. They're not here to hurt me.
Right, exactly. That's what we heard during the...
So my name is Kevin Rojek.
Maybe it would have cost more to pay the local cops to check out the rooftops. Who knows?
Of the FBI Pittsburgh
I'm
field
just
office.
speculating. I'm just asking questions.
The first thing I want to say,
just a question,
is that the FBI stands with the people of Butler County,
that's monkey
Western Pennsylvania, and our hearts go out to the victims of this heinous act which occurred
All right,
today.
let's not laugh while we're talking about
this is our community.
All right.
And I want to let the public know that the FBI has deployed a number of our resources, including investigative agents, our evidence response team, bomb technicians, and we have additional resources coming from other field offices, as well as from FBI headquarters, including our evidence response from Quantico, Virginia. We have intelligence analysts as well, working from our field office in Pittsburgh, working feverishly to attempt to identify the individual who did this and any motives behind why this was done. Right now, we need the public's help. Anyone who was on scene, who saw anything, who identified any information, please report that to the FBI using either the phone number 1-800-CALL-FBI or online at fbi.gov/Butler. This evening we had what we're calling an assassination attempt against our former president, Donald Trump.
What we're calling an assassination attempt.
It's still an active crime scene. As I mentioned, we have a number of agents on scene. We also are working closely with other federal agencies, our state partners, and our local police partners as well.
Can you increase the volume any?
Again, at this time, we are not prepared to identify who the shooter is. We are close to that identification, and as soon as we are 100% confident in who that individual is, we will share it with the press. With that being said, also, we do not currently have an identified motive, although our investigators are working tirelessly to attempt to identify what that motive was. At this time, I'm going to turn over the podium to Colonel Chris Parris from the Pennsylvania State Police.
Thank you very much. My name is Colonel Chris Parris, P-A-R-I-S, Commissioner of Pennsylvania State Police. I would just like to say that the State Police have been in regular contact with the Governor's Office, and the full support and assets of the entire agency are behind the FBI and our other federal and municipal partners to assist with this investigation. The thoughts and prayers of the Pennsylvania State Police are likewise with the victims of this terrible act. We are prepared to support this investigation in any way, shape, or form, and we stand ready to participate in a full, fair, and competent and thorough investigation. To give you an operational rundown, Deputy Commissioner of Operations, Lieutenant Colonel George Bivens, is behind me, and he will discuss the operational portion that's being conducted by the Pennsylvania State Police. Lieutenant Colonel Bivens.
Good evening. So let me describe for you a little bit about the scene that we have over there. As you know, there was a grandstand, a very large area, a lot of people there when this all unfolded. The former president had come out and begun to speak shortly after 6 o'clock this evening. And within about 10 to 15 minutes, a number of sounds were heard, and it became apparent that shots were being fired in that direction. It was a chaotic scene. Law enforcement, I believe, acted heroically, quickly identifying and neutralizing the threat, as well as responding to assist the various victims. PSP had a significant presence on the scene along with all of our federal partners at the time of the shooting. We have since enhanced that presence significantly, bringing in resources from all over the Commonwealth to ensure that we have a speedy, thorough investigation. We are working very closely with the FBI as we work through this. As you can imagine, because of the variety of crimes that have been committed, some are under federal jurisdiction, some are under state jurisdiction. And so, we're working through all of that, not an issue at all. We work seamlessly. But the FBI has maintained the lead on the attempted assassination. PSP will take the lead on the homicide and the shootings of the other individuals in the grandstand area.
What variety?
And so there are a lot of witnesses to be interviewed, a lot of things to be processed. There were some complicators that hopefully the next time we speak we can describe for you, but some complicators that slowed down some of the processing and the positive identification of the shooter. But know that at this time, we have no reason to believe that there is any other existing threat out there. We are doing everything we can to make sure that this is thoroughly investigated, and that if there is any information developed that anyone else was involved, that between PSP and the FBI, that will very quickly be followed up on. So I think at this time we would open it up to questions from all of you.
Was this a lone wolf attack?
Again, I think it's too early to say that. We have one shooter tentatively identified, but we're not stopping there. We're following up on a lot of information. It will be some time until we can conclusively say or answer that question, I think.
We saw snipers up there, as the crowd kind of rolling in. It looked like they had a pretty good viewpoint to check everyone out. So how long did that guy have out there?
Again, that will all be part of the investigation, but that will all be part of the investigation. But I can tell you that preliminarily it appears everything unfolded very quickly. So, again, we'll have more information on that, but it's just too early to start definitively saying this happened at this exact time. That's correct. We'll have that information for you. It was some distance outside of the security.
Reports that there were people who saw someone on the roof and tried to alert authorities.
We're following up on those. I will tell you that I am aware of those, and I am aware that law enforcement had responded to a number of reports of suspicious activity. The specific response to this will be all part of the after action, but yes, law enforcement was responding to check on several suspicious occurrences.
So, in case you missed that, somebody said that they saw somebody on the roof, and his answer was yes, we saw a lot of people on a lot of roofs. All right, thanks.
That will all be part of the investigation.
Okay.
You said that you're close to identifying the shooter. Could you at least confirm that he is from Butler County, Pennsylvania? Is there anything else? Did he have any affiliation with that company, do you know?
So again, we're not prepared at this time to provide the identity of the potential shooter. We're in the process of doing the confirmation, and once we have the confirmation, we'll release the name officially to the press. But at this time, we can't give any further information on the potential shooter. No, it's a matter of doing biometric confirmations. So there was no identification on the individual, as an example. We're looking at photographs right now. We're trying to run his DNA and get biometric confirmation on him.
Would you be able to comment, this is what police found left behind? Any possible devices? Did you find any extra guns? Just anything else you'd be willing to comment?
Not at this time, no. We're still in the process of an active investigation, so we'd like to reserve releasing any information like that until we have more facts. From the FBI's perspective, no. We did not have any specific threat information related to this event.
Can I ask, you talked about how it happened so quickly, and we know that there is at least 2 casualties, including the gunman at this point, that we're aware of. It could have been a lot worse.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
More about that and how it was taken care of so quickly.
So I think the credit goes to not only the Secret Service, who was on site, but also the state and local partners who were there on site and were able to react immediately when the incident occurred.
Do you know how many officers fired their weapons?
I do not.
I understand that it's very early and there's still going to be a lot of questions, but I mean, is this a failure of security?
Is it a failure?
We're not going to make that assessment. There's an active investigation. A lot of things need to occur, investigate.
Okay, so because I am a diligent reporter, I want you to know that someone asked, is this a failure of security? His answer was, we're not willing to answer that yet. I just thought that it was important that I give you that pertinent question. Did someone getting shot and dead and the ex-president getting clipped in the ear a failure of security? Great question, media. Wow. Outstanding. Thank you for that.
To make those determinations of what, if any, failures there were. So really, we can't comment on that at this time.
So you can't say if Secret Service had checked those buildings or were keeping a close eye or...
You really have to defer to Secret Service for those questions.
Laura, was this a failure of security?
I'll really have to defer to Secret Service. As to that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Are you saying the location where the shooter was located? I don't have any information on that. We'd have to defer to Secret Service.
When do you think you will release? When will the name of the shooter be released? I mean, any inkling of when that might happen, tomorrow or?
So that'll be, as soon as we've confirmed 100%, we're willing to release that. So if we have, as far as the contact information for the press, we should be able to do that within the next few hours, I imagine.
There was a vehicle being checked out far from here, but also possible that they could see in Bethel Park. Is there anything you can tell us tonight about other areas where law enforcement may be searching in relation to this?
Again, right now we're tracking down all leads and doing all interviews and tracking anything that we can regarding suspicious locations, vehicles, locations, interviewing individuals. So it's all related to this event, but I can't confirm or deny anything that's going on beyond that.
Can you tell us about the weapon that the shooter used?
As far as the details of the weapon?
Yeah, what kind of rifle was it?
Do you want to comment on that?
What did he use?
No, until it's confirmed, I wouldn't comment on it.
Okay, until we have the confirmation of who the shooter is.
We almost got one, guys.
We'll release that as part of the
almost got one. Somebody whispered in his ear. Oh,
you
thank you.
guys are deploying extra resources, and one of the things that you said was
bomb technician. So is this standard procedure, or do you have reason to believe that there are bombs somewhere in Butler County? Can you just walk us through that?
It's primarily standard procedure of any suspicious packages. In this case, there was identification of suspicious packages around where the shooter was, and so we deployed, in an abundance of caution, bomb assets to make sure that those were cleared for investigators to move safely in the area. We're still working on, it's still an active crime scene, so I'm not going to say that the scene is 100% clear at this time.
Why are there Secret Service agents here right now for this press conference?
So Secret Service wasn't available for the press conference at this time.
I understand what packages are you talking about? You're talking about packages, but suspicious packages like what here for sure?
Really anything. I don't have specifics on what they were looking at, but you know, there's people in the crowd will leave bags as they're fleeing the scene like this. So any suspicious packages we have to treat as it may be an explosive device.
And how quickly, this wasn't, I guess, Secret Service, we're not going to talk about it, I guess, but when you guys jumped into action, all law enforcement, and were able to take down the shooter, how quickly did everybody jump in, and who ended up taking out?
So it was immediate, and it was, we're still trying to figure that out. So we'll wait till we have more definitive information regarding that investigatively.
What about the person in the crowd? Do you have any information about how they were killed?
My understanding was it was from the shooter, but again, those will be details that are released later.
Do you search homes or apartments as a part of your method of identifying the individual?
So if that's where the leads take us, absolutely.
Was Donald Trump hit with a bullet, do you know for sure, or was it potentially something else that could have?
I don't have that specific information as far as the injuries to the former president.
I understand you're not releasing the suspect's identification right now, but as you know, is this person known to you guys? Is he somebody that you guys have been looking at through the threats he's possibly made online?
Hey,
again, the information that we currently have, we're looking at that obviously very intently, and as we know that information, we'll release that as well. So we'll need to plan another time for a follow-up press conference. We're looking at all investigative leads and all everything from, and that's why we asked the public, because I'm sure there'll be cell phone video, there'll be all kinds of information that we'll use to fully flesh out exactly what happened here.
I think you're saying you can't say what type of gun it is, but do you know how many shots were fired?
I don't.
And
I don't have that information as far as, that'll come out in the investigation as well.
Is there an identification tonight on the other victims?
As far as the civilians,
civilians that were injured and killed?
Yeah.
So we do have identification on those. We're not prepared to release it at this time. We have notified a number of family members, but they have not had an opportunity to notify extended family and things. I would
Why do they even
confirm
have
for you
these
that we did
pressers
have
when
one
they're
individual
not
killed.
prepared to
And I know I
talk
heard
about
somebody
the
say about 2
damn
victims. There
thing?
were 3 in total besides the
Except
former
how
president.
great the other
So
cops
2
are.
critically wounded, 1 killed.
At this point, do you know if they were sitting near each other and where in relation to the former president?
I don't have their exact seating by individual. Again, that'll all be part of the investigation, but their shots were scattered somewhat.
All right,
so
if
they weren't,
anything
just
comes
in
up, we'll
one
let you know.
particular
You know why they do this, Laura, though? If we
Yes.
think about it,
The shooter and one fatality.
The shooter plus 1 fatality.
the minute that you don't have
So if there
this,
was 1 victim,
you got people on 4chan talking about,
and then the shooter was killed.
I saw a Mexican shooting. You know, it was the Secret Service. I saw him. I saw the Secret Service give a hand signal in the air, then a drone hit. So, I understand.
Have a good idea of
No,
what the weapon was, but again, that's all part of the ongoing investigation. And I'm not trying to be cagey about that. When the SAC talked about the need to be very methodical and to be cautious with that scene, we are doing just that. We don't want anybody else getting
New York
hurt.
Post
And
says
candidly, there are some
naming
concerns
shooter.
that we'll be able to talk more about later on
Thomas
about
Matthew
just
Kirk's
what those
20
concerns
years old.
are and continue to be.
Let me check that.
What's That's all part of the investigation.
After the event, there were a lot of really angry people. Are you monitoring? Have there been any threats in response to this? Are you worried? Have there been any specific threats?
That's certainly a concern, and we're monitoring that whole situation. I mentioned that we're bringing a lot of assets to bear, and so like the FBI utilizing their analysts, we also have the Pennsylvania Criminal Intelligence Center. We will utilize the resources of our intelligence division and the Criminal Intelligence Center to be able to monitor.
Someone already saying he's Chinese, exactly.
Threats, regardless of the side of the issue or the political spectrum, we want to make sure that we try and avoid any further violence.
But no, nothing specific so far?
No, sir.
Without identifying them by name, can you say anything about the other folks who were injured or killed? Were they adults, men, male, female, anything else?
They were adults.
Crap, I get a paywall.
And they're male.
All three?
Yes.
How difficult of the day is this for your department now, where all your departments are going to talk to these family
I got you, about to find out.
who were gunned down while they just went to a rally to try and, celebrate, I guess, the upcoming election? What are those conversations like, and how do you kind of get through that?
We have trained investigators, and we're partnered hand in hand with the FBI, again, because we've got some federal violations, some state violations, and so our investigators are going out methodically. We have a large team of investigators that are going out, dividing up these interviews and trying to conduct them as quickly as possible, and then there will be follow-ups. With the FBI asking for people to call in tips, I have no doubt that we will receive a lot of additional information that will also require follow-up. But again, we're working very well together, and it's only...
Okay, guys, they're not telling you anything. We'll let you know what they have to say, so let's go ahead and look at another lead here. Who was Thomas Matthew Crooks, man linked to Trump Pennsylvania rally shooting? This is, first of all...
Like a paragraph.
Say it again?
Just a little blurb. It's just a little blurb paragraph about him.
Yeah, so sources, very shoddy. I'm not sure if it's very reliable. But they say that he was identified as a 20-year-old who fired the gun during Donald Trump's Pennsylvania rally. The New York Post reported, citing sources, and that's not anything. They just said sources. We have no name of the sources.
And saying that he was planted on a roof.
The media
outlet.
Right. The media outlet added that Crooks was planted on the roof. So here we go. We're going to, the site that that's on is barely reputable. Really not. The Post is equally as dodgy, and we're just hearing from the police telling them about who's being planted or not, and they're not even telling who the name of the person is. So we'll keep an eye on that, but we can't say that that's what it is yet.
Through all of those interviews.
Might very well be the guy's name, but
could be.
I'm just saying the source is not giving us much.
Yeah, I can't. In all honesty,
speculate or comment on
respect. Go on YouTube and tell 100 people that yet. So we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll thank you for the lead.
No.
For sure.
Law enforcement agencies
Thank you, Doc.
were tasked with securing this particular rally outside of the United States Secret Service.
Well, the Secret Service always has the lead on securing something like this, but then they work very closely. And I hate to use the word routine, but it is a fairly routine matter for all of our agencies to work jointly with the Secret Service. And it really depends on the venue, on what information is out there, what number of resources are devoted to it, and we work with them to provide whatever is requested by the Secret Service, but they're the lead in that security.
Was there anything about this venue that made it particularly difficult to secure?
I would defer to the Secret Service to answer that. They would have done the initial assessment.
Was the rooftop part of what was being secured? Was the rooftop, given its proximity to the event, part of that process?
It's my understanding that was outside of the perimeter.
Did this shooter have any previous criminal history?
We're not going to comment on anything about the shooter.
Did the agency deny Trump's team extra security? Any of the agencies that are out there?
Not that I'm aware of.
If Trump had been the nominee already, would he have had additional security for this event?
There again, Secret Service has the lead, and I'm not going to comment or speculate on what may or may not be provided at any given point.
Really quick, the lady who's asking, did agencies deny Trump extra security when they knew that there was something going on? You can guess who that's from. Every media agency is trying to weave a narrative because they're storytellers for money. None of them are actual media. None of them care about the truth or the facts. None of them care about you as a human or as an American. None of them care about their constitutional duty. That's what yesterday's entire show was about. So, just remember when you hear stuff like that, it's literally the narrative being thread on day one. As you begin to hear more of that, remember you heard it here first, because that was her stupid job, was to start that narrative. You'll hear more, not today, but on another station, on a different quote from a different person. All right? Her question was there an agency or a police person in charge that denied him full security or more security when he asked for it? As you begin to hear that on first the right-wing media, and then of course the stupid, ridiculous, weak left-wing media will pick it up because they don't want to be the one who's not talking about it. Just remember where you heard it first was a random BI with no information, no leads. Just said it. That's how it starts.
Depending on their status as a candidate, what I will tell you is that in my experience, the Secret Service does an excellent job of maintaining security on protectees. They're very cautious. They don't hesitate to ask for resources, and candidly, we don't hesitate to supply those resources.
Colonel, you're asking for the public's help. Can you elaborate and be more specific about what you really like to see from the public, if it's videos, photos, personal accounts?
I think the videos and photos would be very helpful.
Building a very high vantage point some 100 meters away from where this is happening isn't part of that plan. What goes into that conversation over what is in and out and why wouldn't that be?
Again, the Secret Service really needs to answer that question. They conduct the initial site survey. They do the initial security assessments and determine where the different security locations should be, and they're the ones who are in charge of securing the scene. We, along with other state and local assets, are there to support the Secret Service and their mission.
How many troopers and agents were at the rally, obviously before the shooting, and how is that number determined, and should perhaps there have been more?
So I don't have the specific numbers. I doubt you do as well.
No, I can speak just for PSP. We had physically on site there probably 30 to 40
Yeah, I'm looking up
PSP,
all the news,
we
but
also have
everything
additional
seems the
resources in
same
the
or
area.
unworthy. So
we utilize aviation, for example, and a variety of other resources, dogs to sweep beforehand that really aren't counted in that.
I'm with Laura.
And again,
we'll
the
be
number is
ending it
driven
soon.
by
If
whatever
anything new
request
comes
is from
up,
the Secret
I'll
Service.
be around.
You know,
But
just,
I don't think.
In their defense, I mean, what I would want to say is it is incredibly difficult
I'll be
to
keeping
have
an
a
eye on
venue
it, but
open
I
to the
don't
public
expect to.
and to secure
I'll be
that
hopping
against
on to
any
do a
possible
live
threat
stream
against a
myself,
very determined
unless
attacker.
really
That's a huge lift
necessary.
to try and do it. And,
But this has been
you know, again,
this has been a heck
the
of an
investigation
evening for
will
sure.
really give us an opportunity to take a look at
And thank you guys for being here and discussing it amongst yourselves.
Amongst yourselves, yeah, that's the point, man, to provide a platform to talk about it. If I can say any words of wisdom when we leave is Double, triple check sources. Everything that's said on here is between, is not, everything that's said by me and Laura on here will be things that we can fact check and prove, and it doesn't mean that it's not true if you know about it. So if you do know about it, send it to us. Okay? politicaldrain@gmail.com, and we have to check sources. We have to make sure we have 3 good ones that prove it, or actual word of mouth from reputable people, and we will be putting it out as well. Anything that you know, don't go Facebook first. Send it to us.
Don't follow your Facebook.
Good night, Darla. Yeah, don't follow Facebook. Don't
Peace
post
and
it on
love,
Facebook.
Darla. Thanks for always being a sport.
Thank you so
Taking
much,
it, you give
Darla.
it and you take it. We all got to take it and give it. Yeah.
Yep.
We're all here together.
Thanks, P Dubs. Thanks, Angela. Thanks, John Owen. Thank you, Gloria.
Team Sanity and Team Drain. For the win.
Human F being. I'm trying to.
Human.
All right, got macaroni in the house. All of y'all, thank you.
Knock up, you dub stock. Yep, love you guys. See you tomorrow.
See you
sometime, somewhere, in the garden or something.
See you tomorrow, maybe. I'm still up. I'm still checking. So if you see a beep come on your phone or your computer, and it says Political Drain, that's because I heard something that was necessary to actually let you know. And it won't be a question like, was there a failure in security? Christ. Good night, guys.
Good night.